Berkey, can you just...
Yep. You need me to talk?
Okay. Hold on.
Okay. Is that going to go live on air?
Yep.
Nice.
Okay, both of you are live now.
All right. Sorry about that, team. We are back. Had a little bit of a technical snafu. We do come back to a big pot here on the river, on the purple table. 18,000 in the middle. I'm guessing this was either a 3-bet pot or a check raise flop spot. We'll try to get replay if possible. 2 SPR, give or take, 1.75. It'd be nice to know if it was a check raise flop or a 3-bet pot because it matters a lot. The fact that Daniel checked river, I'm guessing, makes it a flop check raise spot, if I had to guess.
Okay.
And the snap fold seems like a lot of queen jack, jack 10.
They can't hear Hunt yet, just to let you know.
Okay. Still working on getting my glorious co-host a microphone and the ability to speak. Having seemingly some technical difficulties on this side, but we're gonna get it taken care of.
I can hear you. Your audio is fine. It's just the system that I have set up. For some reason, it's suppressing your audio.
Big pot brewing on table purple. Again, I missed the flop action, but I think this was either 3-bet, C-bet. Well, let me try to figure it out. That makes sense to me. 3-bet to 4K, call. C-bet for 25%, call. Turn 8 of hearts. Going to favor Daniel's range. I expect to see a lot of 40%ing on that middling heart. He does like to check back. Should have the 7 advantage. Assuming this is a 3-bet pot. Doug goes for the block. Daniel's mostly just going to be calling here. I don't think his 7x is going to raise too often unless he has a pretty relevant blocker. He must have just had the old dust bunnies, though. Some backdoor hand. Something of that nature. Doug off to an early lead. Looks like he's jumped out to about a 16K lead, give or take. 15K. You guys are seeing mental health Matt Hunt on the right. Unfortunately, you can't hear him, so he will just be miming the action. He didn't know he was signing up for that gig today. This will be a fun game to play for the next 20 minutes or so. Who knows, man? Who knows? See, it's funny because I can hear him, so he's talking to me, and then I'm just relaying the message now to the squad. Right. So it's like the opposite of somebody interpreting sign language. You're signing to the audience, but I'm actually hearing your vocals. Yep. We're hopefully there isn't too much action early on. Otherwise, we'll miss some of your reaction, but I'll convey it the best I can. Yeah, in my most monotone Matt Hunt voice, well, that was a large pot. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Jamin out there throwing us a 20 ball saying get your mics fixed. I wish it were the mics, man. That would be an easy solution at this point. James says Matt's just like the rest of us, except we get to see him. That's true. He could type everything into the chat, and I could relay it that way. Oh, this might be a problem. Odyssey says they can hear Andre, so it seems as though the director's cut is making it out there. Yeah, I think that was a few minutes ago. You're right. Yeah, 5 minutes ago. Who else is here? Odyssey holding it down on the mod. Thank you so much. A lot of new names today. Appreciate you guys stopping in. No Christian Soto today. He decided to bail on us last minute. Something about a shorty and a dinner date. I don't know. You know, it's a Monday, Martin Luther King Day. Well, he's in Jersey, so it's 5:30 his time. So he might be getting after it. But I think, honestly, he just knew that today was a federal holiday and decided that, like, he deserved the day off also. In honor of the great MLK, he's going to take a seat today. Ironically enough, on the last vlogcast, he randomly made an analogy that he's Malcolm X and I'm MLK because I'm the pacifist of the two of us. He goes, like, you know, Malcolm X and MLK. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I'm like, what are you reaching for here, man? Like, you're going to have to tie this, you're going to have to make me understand. He goes, you know, cause you're nonviolent. I'm like, oh, I understand. You could have picked anybody else. Slow start compared to what we've been seeing. Go ahead, hon. What were you gonna say? Yeah, you guys can't hear him, but he was basically saying there's been a lot of action these last few sessions. Yeah, Daniel won. He was on a 4-game win streak, won 5 of 6, and has now won 5 of 7. Unfortunately, the one that Doug won was the equivalent of like 3 of Daniel's wins. It wasn't even that big. I think it was like 100 on the dot. And Daniel had some 6-figure wins mixed in there too. He cut the deficit down from $1 million to, at its low water mark, like 480. But actually, I think Doug's won the last 2. So I think over the last 2, Doug's up like 140, 150-ish, something of that nature. It's been swingy though, man. Like there was a session where Daniel started down 80K or down 100K, swung all the way to plus 70, and then finished at minus 25 or minus 30, something like that. It was just like, what a session. Yeah, I mean, like getting to see the variance in motion is always entertaining. 3-bet pot here on table purple, ace 3-5. Doug likes to check. We see this often on these 3-wheel boards, even at ace high. Daniel goes for half pot, or slightly less, I guess, 40%. Seems fine. On a 2-tone board, I would think that he could maybe be choosing a little bit smaller, something between the 25 and 33%. Doug is going to have the strong ace X advantage, but Daniel might just find himself near top of range with an ace 5, ace 3 type holding, and chose to put some money in. He does win on a double barrel. Pretty favorable turn card for his range. I feel like the pre-flop aggression has tempered a little bit with these two also. What Hunt just said is James in the chat said that he's going to get booted from the stream for being idle too long. That'd be kind of funny. Put you on a clock. Yeah, that's true. That's true. We can't send you packing for that. You know, it's on Andre. We gotta take the good with the bad. We celebrate his ingenuity every single day. These wonderful colors that nobody else is able to display. You see these shrunken tables. He's made heads-up tables. Like, who else is doing this type of work? But, you know, sometimes he forgets to restart the timer, and sometimes the guest audio doesn't come through. What are you gonna do? You just gotta work with it, you know. Poor bastard. He's just all on his own, out there scrambling, trying to figure out what the fuck is going wrong, and I'm in here just like needling the shit out of him. Oh, we are gonna get after it this year. Hunt was saying he can't wait for Andre to see what it's like when we're at full scale. Yeah, man, we're in talks. We're gonna do some shit. We might fucking, I don't know. We might just make a card room in Texas. Who knows? Why not? You know, they like us there. We like poker. Hold'em was born there. What better place? Check raise on table blue, single raise pot, jack 7-6, rainbow, turn jack of hearts. I think Daniel will small bet or check here a fair portion. He's going to have a lot of hands that wrap around the 7, as well as wrap around the jack, most of which will be backdoor hands. So because the turn is a Badugi card, all of his backdoor equity type holdings are going to miss, meaning he's going to want to have some check calls with like 8, 9, 9, 10, that type of stuff. So he'll probably protect himself by checking a jack there as well. He does ultimately arrive at a check fold, probably looking at a hand like Queen 10 there. The old QTO. Wins a nice one on table purple. Top pair 9 kicker. Didn't see how the money got in, but that should get close to evening the matchup. Doug might be up like 5K, 6K right now. Single raise pot, table blue, 10-8-7, rainbow check check, turn 4 of diamonds. See some big bets out of Doug here. 3/4 to pot. He elects to go with the check. Daniel's very likely to check back a second time, I think. Could start betting some of his 8x and 10x that check back flop for protection's sake. Hands like 10-9, 8-9. The river 10 is definitely going to open Doug up to some bluffs. Pretty unlikely Daniel has a 10. He's very capped. His strongest hands are very likely to be pocket 9s or 8x.
I am talking. Let's see if you can hear me.
Hey.
They can
Oh,
hear me.
shit.
Hello.
Daniel the genius. Doug flopped the nuts. 3 checks out of Daniel. Got him. That feels like a win. Welcome, Hunt. Officially this time.
I picked a awkward moment to arrive because I thought you were celebrating the fact that I had audio. You were just celebrating the big pot.
No, I have a big pot. It was literally 4 big blinds.
Oh, okay.
I was just celebrating
Daniel
that
being a genius, checking 3 times.
Daniel played his fucking ace deuce high perfectly.
Well, good for him.
So officially welcome to the stream, even though it's the third
Thank
time
you.
I'm introducing you.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy we got the audio fixed up.
Me too. Appreciate you taking a break from your regular scheduled streams.
Yeah.
I hear rumors that you might hop in the poker streets.
Yeah, possibly. I've been trying to find ways to put more time into streaming, and then every now and again I keep finding myself thinking, oh, I should probably play some more poker at some point. So maybe I'll actually start combining the two and just stream some poker sometime soon.
I think that your viewers would appreciate it, to be honest.
Some of them would. Some of them are like random 16-year-old kids who like video games and have no idea what poker even is.
That
so
part's
some
super
of them
fair.
would probably be an interesting experience, but it's been an interesting journey. So I'm excited to maybe get some poker streams going soon.
Yeah, I would just assume your audience would always appreciate you and your expertise. God, poor Daniel.
Hopefully.
So that
Oh,
pot
Daniel.
went check raise flop, big bet turn out of Daniel, and it came the old running kings. He elected to block bet river. That seems fine.
Yeah, that seems probably good.
I don't know. Maybe he could just check call river though. I feel like if he's blocking with this hand, he doesn't really have check calls, right?
So the action went check raise flop.
Big bet turn, so full
Bet
pot
turn.
call. Yeah,
It wasn't really
it wasn't even a
block on
block.
river,
It was like half
half
pot.
Yeah,
I think
that
that's a big.
size. Yeah, that size doesn't make any sense.
I
to
think
me.
that's a pretty big error. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm positive that's a very large error. That might be frustration, but
Right, because it feels like ace 3 there specifically. Like if you think ace 3 is strong enough that you can get called by like a 9 or whatever, then you can afford to go large. Like if you think ace 3 is not strong enough that you can afford to go large, it makes much more sense as a check because it unblocks all of his potential floats and bluffs and things like that.
Well,
and you're also worried about a king. So
yeah,
like,
so
it's a
that
weird-
latter point I
weird
think
line.
is very relevant, right? Like,
Yeah.
we can't just be targeting a 9 or pocket. It's even really difficult to assume that Doug can have like 10s, jacks, or queens at this point.
Right.
He called pot on the turn.
Yeah.
So I think like even 9x is hard because hands like jack 9, 9, 10, queen 9 are pretty negatively blocking. Like they're not very good bluff catchers at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Although I would
Good.
I would be, I think from Doug's perspective, like I think if he ends up, like when you think about how wide the ranges are on that board, if his continuing range beyond the turn, like if his range for calling that pot bet is just like a turned king or better, that might be a bit of an overfold. Like
No, I
feel
think
like,
he has 9x, but I think it's
Sure.
worse 9x. It's like 9-8, 9-7. I mean, it was just a single raise pot, so he opens button.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
it's gonna be hands like that, and then he's also gonna have hands that are drawing to the nuts, like jack 10, queen jack. I assume that like those are gonna continue in some capacity at some frequency. Maybe not purely, but
But you think he's calling turn even with queen jack and jack 10?
well, I think
what-
I
you
think
talking about
it's
the
gonna
flop?
matter, right? Like I imagine like suits are gonna matter pretty heavily there.
Yeah, probably.
Just based on like unblocking and blocking king X and ace X.
Yeah.
But yeah, I imagine that like queen high has to call at some frequency. It still has showdown value. It's drawing to the nuts.
Yeah, that's probably fair. And yeah, you're right that it also it does beat a lot of the bluffs that Daniel's supposed to have in that spot. Like
Yeah.
it does beat all the like 4-5 and like the deuce 5 suited and stuff that he's supposed to check raise and barrel
Jack
with
10
some
too. Like
frequency.
Jack 10's
Yeah.
those hands that wrap around the 9 are going to be relatively frequent, I would think.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Although he probably like purely 3-bets Jack 10 suited, so maybe it's less Jack 10. Right, because like he could have 4-5 suited with the
Yeah.
backdoor
Oh,
that makes
3
a lot
bets
more
pre,
sense.
you mean? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was getting confused.
Another big pot brewing on table purple. I believe this was a single raise pot where Doug check raised flop, but I'm not positive.
I like this purple table, by the way.
Yeah, the only thing that it does is it screws up the color of the deck. Because it's just like an overlay that Andre dreamed up.
Right. That's what I mean, though. I don't love the yellowish color for, I think it's the spades, but like the purple for the diamonds and the green for the hearts. I like that for some reason. Don't know why. I
It
just
feels
like it.
video gamey to me.
Yeah, that's probably why I like
Which
it.
I really dig it. Yeah, it feels like high resolution 16-bit gaming.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. That was
someone-
my immediate takeaway, but the chat hates it because it's very foreign to a traditional deck.
I see. Yeah, of course. So what do we got in chat? Let me just see who we've got here. It would be hilarious if all Hunt has to do is hit the United button. I guess you mean the unmute button. But hey, it wasn't me. Ti Frank, it wasn't me. It was not my error that caused me to be muted.
Yeah, no, we had a massive meltdown here at the studio. Andre's machines are going up in smoke as we speak, and he is finding ways to keep them together with bread ties and silly putty. So we're doing God's work here at Software Office. You guys need to do more subscribing, more liking, more commenting. You know, hit up that tv.softwarey.io. Make sure that you get us our $9.99. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get Andre a new computer. You know, it's simple as that. Chin's not here to show the product. I got to do it. You guys like this Alpha Rec hat that I'm wearing? You know, go ahead. I'm not sure what the link is. Andre knows. I think it's like solve4y/shop or something of that nature. Odyssey got it in the Nightbot commands. Let's go. You know, got Jamin out here throwing us 20 spot. I see you. Jim B.
Yeah, I'm just addressing Jim B's comments here as well. He said he had a coach who told him that he could never be a winning player.
I see that now. Go ahead.
And I'm just like, I just feel like a coach that says that is just not a good coach, honestly. Like that's just not like it's. Imagine going to like take guitar classes and your guitar teacher just tells you like you're never going to be good at this. Like what kind of
bad
coaching is
business
that, you know?
it sounds like. So Jim said he's a known coach, and after a year of lessons I gave up and figured he was correct. Imagine spending a year with somebody who had no faith that their ability to teach would ever be translated into profit.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
outrageous.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I as a coach myself, like I look like I've coached some people who were at like really beginner level when it comes to poker.
Yeah.
But the thought of telling them like, oh, you're never going to be a winning player, you should quit or whatever, just doesn't even enter my mind, because first and foremost, this is anyone who goes to get poker coaching is someone who enjoys poker. It's probably at least a hobby for them, and they want to get better at it because they enjoy it, right? So to say to someone, you're never going to be a winning player or whatever, it's kind of akin to saying like, you should probably quit this hobby that you really like.
Yeah.
Which is like, who has the right to say that to anybody? You know.
Well, also,
like,
if you believe
why
that,
would you say
don't
that?
take money coaching them for a year. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
You can turn.
if you
I think it's very fine to like say, hey, I don't think we're a good fit out of the gate.
Yeah. of
Like,
course.
I'd prefer to work with somebody higher level, or like, I think your trajectory is a little lower than I'm accustomed to, whatever. That's
Sure.
reasonable.
Mhm.
Don't take somebody on as a client for a year, bleed them dry, and be like, hey, bro, I don't think you can ever win.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, not with you coaching me.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know who the coach was, but that's bad business, man. I'm
It's
sorry. I'm
bad
sorry
everything.
you went through that experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, Odyssey said head to our Slack channel. We have a coaching market where coaches that I vet post. They say what their hourly is. They say what their availability is, and you're welcome to pick and choose. And then also people looking for coaching make posts saying like what specifically they want, and coaches can kind of like comb through and decide. Honestly like that's one of the things I'm more proud about with our Slack channel. I think that like that free market where everybody has a little bit of confidence because I've vetted one way or the other, either the student or the coach. I think that that's like worth a lot. And I know like you and Dom specifically have just been crushing it.
Well, we try, you know, and I have a pretty busy plate right now, but I'm very grateful for the community that we have, because the vast majority of people I coach these days come through Soulful Wire, right? Through the company, and it's been what's been really great about that is that it gives me the opportunity to take some of the stuff that I work on in video series for the site and for academy content, and to hone that in more detail in one-to-one sessions. And then stuff will come up in one-to-one sessions with people who have been to the academy, or people who have watched the content that I put out on the site or that you put out or whatever else. And then that translates itself into some kind of insight that I can put into a later video or something. So it's like a really nice dovetailing of all the content that I make and all the one-to-one stuff that I do, and it just I think it makes me a better coach. So I'm really grateful for that community that we have, for sure.
Yeah, and I think like from the perspective of the student, it helps everybody who doesn't benefit quite as much from group learning or self-learning, right? So it's like we want to try to attack all angles. From our side, it's more proficient to basically speak to the people who want to learn in a group or be self-taught, because now we can mass populate that type of content. But for people who like just work better in a one-on-one environment, it's like, well, you don't want to turn them away. Be like, yeah,
Right.
we don't have anybody, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, instead we have you who's a part of the staff, and then 3 or 4 guys that I trust implicitly that are just community members. It's like, you know, they've spent a lot of money with us. If they want to recoup some of that by doing a good job coaching, more power to them.
Absolutely. And all those guys are guys that we've had come through the academy in some form or another, or come through homeschool or whatever else, and we know that they know what they're doing, and we know that they have a similar coaching philosophy to what we have, and it just helps everybody, right? So
I promise you they won't tell you that you can't beat the game ever.
yeah. Ruth says, I just joined and listened to the webinar last Saturday. Insane value for $9.99. Matt is a poker genius and puts in the hours to make great content. I know since you're talking about the webinar, you're probably talking about Matt Berkey, but I'm gonna just assume that maybe that was also
It's a blanket statement. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
All
you didn't
Matt.
specify, right? So I still get to take the credit. So
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, and Ruth, if you just joined, there's a lot of great stuff in the masterminds. Matt does one on how EV really works that I think is an absolute must watch for everybody. I did a bunch on like mental game stuff that, you know, you might find more interesting than educational, but I think that the masterminds actually, I think, are like some of the better things that we've done just because of the interaction.
Yeah, I think so. I think the interactive part is great, and I think also there's a lot to be said for the fact that there's tons of concepts in poker that are the kind of size where you can put them easily into a 1 hour or 90-minute or 2-hour webinar, but making a 5-hour series about them or doing a segment at the academy about them or anything like that, it's kind of tough. So the masterminds are kind of good for that, just not necessarily bite-sized content, but like just that sort of webinar length, you know?
Yeah, kind of more drilled down content.
Right. So Sean in chat, who is a student of mine, just started with me this morning, which we just had a session with. He said he played with you, Berk, in Texas.
Okay.
And he played a hand against you, and he asked me about it, and he wanted to know your thoughts.
Okay.
So it was a pretty straightforward hand, I think, where you double straddled, and he was in the small blind. So you were playing like 2-5, 10-20. And the button opened to 100 or something, and he had aces, and he flatted the small blind, and then you squeezed from the straddle, I think.
Oh,
like
I remember this.
He said it went flat, and then it went call, and you squeezed, and then he just back shoved with aces.
Yeah.
And I said I felt like in that spot, if he just makes it like 1200. Well, I didn't actually hate it as much as some other plays possibly, just because I feel like if he makes it like 1200 there, he has to have a really specific image for you to think he has any bluffs.
Oh, I think he should just call.
Yeah, I did say that. I said call was better.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like call is best by a fair amount, and then I feel like reshove is not the worst, because maybe you have tens and you just think, well, he doesn't really have jacks plus here often.
I would fold pretty tight there. I think I folded ace queen.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd played with Sean enough. I would label him as value heavy. I don't think.
Okay. Well,
I just don't think he builds.
things.
Yeah, I just don't think he builds bluff ranges.
Right.
You know, he's just at that point in his learning phase where he's still building from value down, and finding a back jam for bluffs is gonna be pretty fucking hard.
Well, this is good for me to know, because this was my first session with him this morning. We were mostly talking about preparation for a live trip that he's doing soon and things like that, and we didn't get into the strat stuff. So Sean, Berk thinks you're value heavy, so we got to work on that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I folded ace queen, maybe ace jack suited, something of that nature. Which I mean, they're pedestrian folds anyway, for the amount that was going in. But yeah, I think calling is just better. You know, the pot's bloated already. The SPR is going to be reasonably low. I think we would have had like maybe 3 or 4 SPR. I want to say he was like 3K effective, give or take. So yeah, we would have had like 4 SPR. You can't be afraid to play aces in 4 SPR when you know that a guy, especially versus squeeze range. So it's like I'm pretty polar anyway.
Yeah.
You don't really have to worry about me getting in there cracking with like sevens where I'm just going to like outflop you or something like that, you know?
Right.
You're just often going to have me dominated. I'm going to shell off a lot.
Interesting pot developing on blue table, I think. Looks like Doug overbet the turn. I think it went check, and then Doug overbet, and now he's overbetting again on river.
Yeah, this is going to be tough for Daniel. I don't really think he's going to find many calls just because he's so capped when he checks back flop. Wow, he does find the call.
Wow.
That is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
Wow. Yeah, Heartbreak Hotel right there.
So Daniel made me eat my words a little bit. He must have been a little bit more protected than I thought. Maybe a strong jack, maybe a stronger ace than I realized.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe has some
I
ace
feel
10
like
there.
I feel like he's quote unquote supposed to have at least some strong aces that can check back there with some frequency, or some hands that have like a fairly clear bluff catch there. But it's a weird one, because obviously Doug's range contains all the deuce 5 suited, all the 6-5, and then when he overbets twice, it's sort of hard for him to do it with any value hand that is, well,
I don't think Daniel's calling to beat value. I think I think it's just a spot where Doug is very likely to be over bluffing because Daniel's so perceived to be capped.
Yeah.
You know, he's just c-betting ace jack. What was it? Ace jack 6? Ace jack 4?
Ace jack 4 7 3 was the board.
Yeah. I just think he's c-betting ace jack 4 two-tone. Relatively high frequency.
Sure, yeah, most likely.
I guess I could be off, but like I would assume like 66+% of his range bets there.
Yeah,
or sorry, bets at like a 66% frequency rather. And yeah, you know, single raise bottom, I'm sure he is going to have some pure checks, and he'll balance that. Maybe ace 10's a good one to check back. Certainly ace wheels are
yeah,
good
the ace wheels are
back.
gonna work pretty well there. I mean, Daniel could even have had like ace 7 or ace 3 and just had 2 pair and just got slightly cooled off.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Because he called pretty quickly. You would feel like if he just has 1 pair, you'd think that maybe he might have taken a bit more than like 3 or 4 seconds to call.
Yeah.
I'm curious, since you obviously you and Chin, between the two of you, have probably seen pretty much every hand of this challenge so far.
Yeah.
Do you feel like as the challenge has gotten further in, as we've gone past that 12,500 hand mark, has there been a shift from either of the players in the direction of trying to really find like a specific exploit, or do you think we're now seeing like both of them start to
I think the opposite.
Closer to equilibrium?
Yeah, I think the opposite. I think Doug was hammering some pretty exploitative spots in the first 12-5.
Right.
Because at first Daniel was limited to 2 sizings, and he was doing some weird turn shit where like SPR would be 1 and he would quarter pot. Not that you can't do that, but he was only doing that. Like his only size seemed to be like quarter pot or check. So like I think Doug was taking a pretty big advantage of things like that. I think he was taking advantage of the fact that Daniel was 4-betting an awful lot, and then just like not being all in prior to river. So Doug was like really winning the red line war when it came to big pots. But the back half, Daniel has played incredibly well. And granted, you know, things have fell a little bit more favorably for him. But like these river I mean, he's neutralizing the red line war a lot on this back half. And his P&L is showing for it. You know, he's up 300,000 on the second half of the match right now. At peak, he was up almost $500,000. And I know it's weird to talk about it in those terms because, you know, he's stuck 600,000 over the match, but it was a big deficit that he had created for himself in the first 12-5, and he erased a lot of it pretty fucking quickly through what appeared to be a mixture of really, really good sound play and a little bit of positive variance.
Interesting. So
yeah,
do you think...
I don't think Doug looks for exploits, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to go much further, but I want to expound. I think that Doug is just like very, very diligent to the plan, and he just wants nothing to do with deviations.
Interesting. Because last time I was on commentary, I remember we saw that Doug was kind of hammering Daniel a lot with overbets on rivers, and Daniel was just folding a ton. Yeah. Has that dynamic kind of eroded a little bit?
Not one bit. Doug 3x pot rivers, a lot, and Daniel calls very infrequently. But you know that's also kind of the math of it. I think that the real change is Daniel's taking better lines up to the river. That's preventing the 3x pot shove at the frequency at which it was coming in the past.
Cool.
So that's kind of nice. There have been a couple times where I've seen both Doug and Daniel overbet river. Now, Daniel still uses a pretty restricted size when it comes to river overbets. I haven't seen anything bigger than 1.5 go in yet. So I haven't seen like the 2 or 3x pot shoves or anything of that nature. Doug is like only 5-bet shoving, even at 250 bigs. So to give you an idea of like where he stands as far as making big bets, you know, when Daniel's 4-betting to like 10K, Doug's just all in for like 90. And that's interesting to me, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that either, because I feel like it's probably quite hard to do, even with like the heads up post flop version of PO or the heads up pre-flop version of PO that you can use. Like when you're 200 big blinds deep plus, it's probably pretty hard to run a sim that would give you like an accurate idea of what the right kind of approach to 5-betting to a non-all-in size is when you're that deep, right? Yeah. Because the sim is going to have to run let's say if you want to try to pick the right sizing, the sim is going to have to run a few different sizings, and it's going to have to run a sample of flops across all those different sizings. And it's going to take forever to run that sim.
Yeah.
Because unless your post-flop game tree is like wildly simplified, it's going to be really, really complex. And I wouldn't imagine it's too far from the case that Doug simply just doesn't really have much like confidence in knowing what he should be non-all-in 5-betting at that depth. And so he's just chosen the simplified strategy, the all-in strategy, because maybe he thinks Daniel's already making mistakes against that. And so it's like, why put the effort in considering the low frequency that actually happens?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it could just be a range of hands that's like jacks plus ace king only.
Sure, yeah.
And, you know, if you were to 5-bet to a non-all-in size, now jacks and ace king are supposed to fold versus the 6. And queens is a little bit awkward. So, like, maybe it's just kind of about avoiding that awkwardness with hands that you feel pretty comfortable stacking off at 250 with. But, yeah, I mean, to that end, I think that, yeah, we've just seen, like, a lot more crisp river play out of Daniel, in my opinion. And we have seen some of these overbets come through on the river where they get raised because there's been enough depth. So, like, I've seen Daniel both raise and re-raise in spots where, like, river goes 1.5x. And both he and Doug have, like, found raises in that spot.
Wow.
Dan's been all in on the river a lot today.
Those
especially on
those
table
spots
blue.
Those spots don't come along a lot where you get overbet on the river and then you're just like, I raise. You know? That's pretty rare.
Yeah, I think maybe a little less so heads up, just because you know, ranges are so fucking wide and flop bet strategies are so diverse that I would guess almost with certainty that if we went back and looked at all the spots where the river got raised like that, it was a small bet on the flop. And, you know, just like a bunch of hands made it to the turn and something occurred that, you know, allowed the opportunity for more bluffs to exist on river. Or value.
That makes sense.
Yeah, or more value, you know. Like,
sure.
I
want to address one thing.
Just realization. Go ahead.
Sure. I want to address one thing from chat. JNevsky123 says, I could use an hour or two of one-on-one coaching on tourney stuff for the Venom. So as a coach, what I would say in that regard is if you're planning or preparing for a specific tournament and you're a few days out like we are now, nothing that you do between now and then in terms of strategy work is going to have a substantial impact on your overall ROI in that tournament. What is going to make the biggest difference is making sure that you actually play your best when you get to the table, as opposed to playing your B game, C game, etc. Because that could mean a 20-30% bump in your ROI. So what I would focus on there, don't worry about getting coaching between now and then, because all a coach really needs to tell you if they want to make the biggest impact is prepare well, do whatever you need to do to be in the right frame of mind, don't have distractions going on, and also just relax and enjoy the process, because a big tournament like that doesn't come along very often. And if you spend so long focusing on the potential result that you forget to enjoy the process, then why are we really here in the first place, right? Why do we even play poker if we can't enjoy a big tournament like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. I also think it's like very habitual for people who don't routinely study, you know, to have a big event arise that maybe they didn't intend on playing, or maybe they satellited into, or whatever the case may be, and now suddenly the panic sets in. It's like, I have to prep. It's like, wow, that moment's gone.
It's like cramming for the final exam, right? It's like you forgot to study the whole time, and then you're cramming 24 hours before. And it kind of works for some, you know, depending on what subject you're studying for the exam. But with poker, it doesn't really work that well, because you can't just snap your fingers and boost your ROI overnight, right? So
yeah, you can't just memorize infinite spots and
exactly, right? So
start crushing.
Yeah, preparation is key, I think. And James also says, how has becoming a coach made you a better all-round player? Interesting question, and for me, like, it's weird answering that for me almost, because I've been a coach for most of my career. Like, I started coaching in late 2013, and that was about 2 and a bit years after I became a pro. And, you know, part of that was just a desire to use the teaching skill set that I already had, you know, and really coaching has made me a better player in the sense that it's first of all, it's forced me to study at times when I otherwise could have gotten lazy, and then second of all, it's continually forced me to have to verbalize the concepts that I understand about the game. And over time, doing that over and over and over again has really solidified my knowledge of those concepts in a very specific way, as opposed to just consuming information. So it's made me a better player in a ton of different ways. It's also helped me to understand the type of leaks that the average player tends to have. So it's helped me to understand what people struggle with. And as a byproduct of seeing that in my own students, I have a general idea of what the mistakes that are made by the average player tend to be in most contexts.
I think there's a lot of intrinsic value to being a coach. Way
Sure.
more so than
Yeah.
I think that any of us would have understood when we first signed up to do so.
Yeah. What about from your perspective? Like, what do you think diving into the coaching industry and starting the company did for your game?
It improved my game tenfold for sure. It definitely made me keep up in a way that I may not have been incentivized, given that I was playing soft games very large. So I could have just like quietly made money and regressed. But I don't want to say I'm not driven by money, because obviously I am. But oh wow, Doug won a huge one on the left that we missed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to say that I'm not driven by money, because obviously, like, to some degree I am. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in an industry like this. But I think, like, largely speaking, I'm so much more interested in trying to be a master of my craft than I am in just chasing bottom line EV. I've always been in the mindset that, like, money follows ability or talent or whatever you want to qualify it as. Now in this industry, I kind of made a tweet earlier today that this industry, and probably a lot of others where there's big money on the line, it's a strange thing. I said that I'm constantly reminded that in this industry, players who color within the lines of strategic conventional norms and outside the lines of moral norms are both revered and celebrated. And like, to me, that's a pretty sad thought. Like, that we frown upon anybody who attempts to innovate, and we hoist up those who are so bottom line driven that they're willing to, forego their own moral compass, or maybe adjust their moral compass, whatever you want to say.
Or just throw it completely out the window.
Throw it completely out the window, whatever. It's just like, I just have heard so many more stories over the last 12 months during this pandemic of big name pros, like people that cheating wouldn't even be on my radar. Doing everything that you can imagine that we deem to be uncouth. And like, it all started with the Jungle Man thing. And I think the community's reaction to the Jungle Man thing of shrug, everybody's doing it, was like an opportunity for the floodgates to open. It's just like, well, we like this guy and we think he's good at poker and he had an opportunity to make a lot of money. So who's going to fault him for that? Even though he was scumming a bunch of wealthy whales effectively, or at least he was offering them a non-fair game. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is something that frustrates me a lot about the game as well. Like, I feel like we have this mentality where on the one hand, if you're really good at poker, the community will basically forgive you of anything. And then on the other hand, if you're really, really bad at poker, the community will forgive you of anything because they want you to stay around and keep donating money. So the only people who get really held to any kind of high moral standard are the people who are within the average kind of ability bracket of like anywhere from pretty good but not particularly well-known pro down to random recreational player. Like that group of people has to kind of play by the rules and not be a dick and just like, not cheat and all this stuff. And then there's these two segments outside the rules where if you're at the very top or if you're just dumping money into the community, everybody's like, well, we're just going to turn a blind eye. And that's definitely frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough because like, I just don't know where the lines are of what I can say and what I can't say. So like
you have much more of a public profile than I do, so I can say whatever the fuck I like.
Well,
No
it's
one
just
pays
also
attention.
like I'm privy to a lot of information that isn't public, and I have no receipts for. So it's just like second-handed or third-handed, and yeah, sure, it might be multiple sources that are confirming, but you know, it could all trace back to one source, and that makes it difficult. It makes it challenging to hold anybody accountable in that regard.
Big pot popping up on purple table, looks like.
Yeah, best guess would be that this was a 3-bet C-bet pot size bet on the turn.
I'd expect so, yeah. Pretty big turn bet, and we're now at about a 1.2, 1.3 to 1 SPR on the river.
I thought Daniel checked.
There's a river raise coming in on the other table, but Daniel just folded. A huge river raise.
I thought Daniel checked here, but he just activated his time bank. This is kind of fascinating. What hands would he tank this long with before ripping?
Ooh.
So I imagine this is just a 5 a lot. A
Yeah.
5 or like a baddish flush.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's just trying to determine if he can call by worse. Although I think like all flushes can certainly get called by worse.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel can probably have some houses as well. He can have 7s full, 9s full, stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess he's gonna have to like balance his tanking when it comes to that regard. But like to take these guys just don't take that long for even big decisions.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if that were a bluff, because I think that tanking that long airs him on the side of thin value, and it probably allows Doug to make some hero folds with bluff catchers.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like timing tell wise, when it comes to online poker, it's always a tricky game, but I think that there's certainly an impression I get that people are unlikely to deliberately take a long time with really strong value. Like people don't like to like waste part of their time bank just to try to sell the impression of a bluff.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of the time, if they are going to actually bluff, they don't want to take that long about it. Like if they do take a certain period of time, they'll just give up because they think, well, now I can't sell it because I've taken too long.
Yeah.
So like that period of time that Daniel took is just kind of the right amount of time, because it's the right amount to where maybe he was like fake tanking and maybe he was tanking to decide whether to bluff or not. So like he did an okay job there. He's been pretty balanced with the tank range there, I think.
Yeah, I would say that I could count on one hand the amount of time either one of these guys have activated their time bank.
Wow.
So
that's strong given how much money they're playing for.
I think that the WSOP normal time bank is relatively long. I think it's 20 seconds on each decision. So like this right here where Daniel's thinking, I think that's 20-ish seconds, maybe 30. The activated time bank is a full minute. So I can remember off the top of my head 2 times that Daniel's activated it. I can't remember any where Doug has. Wow. I'm sure I'm obviously wrong. Daniel's probably been slightly more, and Doug is certainly greater than 0. But I would imagine it's probably like less than 10 times in the entire 29 sessions.
That's wild. It's a lot of hands of poker to not have to think for more than 20 seconds about.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that like they're just so studied in the spots, and they're just rolling all of them. So in reality, it's like the only thing that takes time is for them to actually know what frequency they're supposed to roll. And that's probably like where a lot of the errors come in, where it's like, you know, they roll 66-33 in an 80-20 spot.
Yeah.
You just kind of get it wrong a little bit.
Yeah. So do you think you're pretty confident that both of these guys are using some kind of randomizer?
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Interesting. I suppose we're kind of in that era now that it's becoming extremely commonplace to talk in terms of randomization and to talk in terms of wanting to make sure that we're getting our frequencies correct through that methodology, as opposed to looking directly for the exploits.
Yeah. Apologies, guys. WSOP client just shut down. Should be back up momentarily. We're going to update that session number for you, too. It should be 29, not 27.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Good news, Bitcoin is on the rise again. Saw an article today projecting it to break the 40K mark again.
That seems like good news.
Can't wait.
Sounds like good news for you, at least.
Very good news for me. I have no cash anymore.
No cash.
I am broke, sort of. I'm fake broke.
I was gonna say, I thought you were having a really good year poker-wise,
Great
or
year.
not?
Great year.
Great year. It's
Yeah.
just all in Bitcoin now.
All in Bitcoin.
Wow.
Bitcoin and wind chips.
You just went all in on Bitcoin, huh?
Yep, and casino chips. I got a lot.
I'm gonna
of
find
those.
a Bitcoin grocery store somewhere.
It's probably not that far away.
Probably not.
I think PayPal has Bitcoin debit cards.
Yeah, I've heard something about PayPal and Bitcoin being integrated in some way.
I don't want to spend a penny of it though, like not a single cent.
Yeah.
I would go panhandle the strip, I think, before I took any sort of withdrawal.
Wow, that's strong.
I just really think that this is the ticket to 100 million.
Wow. All right then. Makes me glad I own at least a bit of it.
Yeah. I think I also just need to make a lot more money in the short term, so I can
Just buy more
piling.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, just keep piling in.
Yeah. I guess that's
fewer casino chips, more Bitcoin.
Today on Twitter, you saw me wondering about playing more poker. I suppose my pathway needs to be play more poker so I can buy more Bitcoin, and then just
That's what
it's
I'm
like
thinking.
It's like that South Park meme of like, what is it? It's the underpants gnomes. From
Oh yeah,
South Park,
the
where it's
underpants
like,
gnomes are great.
Step 1, step 2,
Yeah.
step 3, question mark, step 4, profit.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's play tournaments, buy Bitcoin, question mark, profit.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stream tomorrow. Tomorrow is a 1K
Nice.
event.
Cool.
1K ring event should be. I think it's like a big guarantee, maybe 150K guarantee, 200K guarantee, something like that. Should be like 50K to first. And then Wednesday is a 2K event. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I may just
You're
like.
gonna play it.
No,
Come
I'm
on.
100% playing it.
Oh,
I'm just trying to
okay.
figure out. I'm trying to negotiate how we're gonna stream both this and that.
Okay.
But I think what I will do is probably just duck out of this stream a little early. And then the second this one ends, I'll go live with mine.
Mhm.
That seems to make the most amount of sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned. Over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to try to do a lot more poker streaming, if possible.
A lot more winning of tournaments.
A lot more winning of tournaments. Man, I need to win some tournaments.
When was the last time you won a tournament?
I won a few small ones. I won one on stream for like 10K. Andre doesn't know this, or maybe he does, but he hired me to do a GG commentary gig, and there was no camera, so it was just audio. And I was in here in the podcast room using the good mic while I was six tabling because it was a Sunday. And so like on one screen I had the Discord channel with all the action from GG up, and I was with Stapleton, who's just like the best. And he's really good at like leading the action and throwing you softballs and shit like that. So I'm not paying any attention to what's going on until he just like feeds me, and then I just like quickly glance up, give a little bit of analysis, go right back to what I'm doing, ship the tournament. I shipped like $100 turbo for like 9,000 while playing.
That's great.
I had to like hold it in too. I'm like three-handed in a fucking turbo while they're down to like 3 in the Sunday Million on GG. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, big ICM implications for both him and me right now.
You're like in one spot, you're there like, in a big ICM spot where you have to fold, and the other guy is like in a spot where he's supposed to call.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, I think he's supposed to fold here because
Yeah.
you're so focused on your hand. Yeah.
No, it was actually really great. Stapes is the best.
Stapes
all
is great.
all those guys who like play that role, Stapes, Jeff Platt, Ali Najad, they're all so fucking good at
Yeah.
just like carrying the load, and they make it so easy when you're the analyst, especially if if you're a seasoned analyst, right? Like I probably have, between streaming and having done commentary, I might have 500 or 600 hours under my belt at this point. So it's like, I don't need to pay that close attention with somebody who is that good at setting me up. Like, I need to pay close attention if I'm solo. But that's it. And it's like, they're so good that you can put in somebody who's like completely green to commentary, and they'll just get like such easy softballs that even somebody who isn't really all that sharp at commentary or strategy or whatever the case may be can find a way to insert their analysis and just like, sit on their hands otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys are a credit to the poker community.
It's a skill set I think actually Chin's very good at.
Yeah, Chin's really good at that too, actually, yeah. But he's not here.
No.
So let's not talk about him too much. We don't want to boost his ego too much.
That's true. He gets text messages whenever he gets mentioned, man. Like, somebody will instantly text him and be like, yo, they're talking shit about you on the stream. He got loyalists.
Even when we're actually saying something good about him, he'll probably get text saying, "Oh, they're talking shit about you."
Yeah,
Like,
that sounds about right.
Unbelievable. So Daniel was up quite a lot on the left table, on the blue table, but he's not anymore. There was a big one.
He lost about 30,000 on that table, give or take. But he's won all of that and then some, seemingly, on the purple table. So swingy, man. Like, you want to pay attention to tables as if like it matters somehow. It really is fascinating how watching two tables of heads up, like, variance is just sheerly on display.
Yeah.
The cool thing we get though is almost 200 blinds effective on table blue. So you do see Doug makes a smaller 3-bet size now. This is just born out of, as stacks get deeper, you want to keep SPR greater when you're out of position. You're just taking on a lot more risk with a lot less edge. You'll see Daniel's 4-bet size, assumedly anyway, increase now that they're a little bit deeper. I know Doug for sure will increase. It's funny, when they're like 100 blinds deep, he 4-bets to like 8,500, 8,200 maybe. And when they get to be like 200 plus, he's like 12K.
Interesting. So I feel like I'm missing something in the chat. Jason and Joe are talking about slippers. What's going on with slippers?
When we were in Austin, I don't know what the arrangement was, but somehow, some way, Lynn had made a guarantee to Jason that she would buy him these expensive slippers if she won the money off of me.
Okay.
And she got moved to my table when we cross-booked like 10x. I think we were playing like 2-5. And her and I didn't play a single pot. I didn't win or lose a single penny. But she managed to like just break the fucking game. She won like 15,000 in like minutes. That was with the cross-book. So like she won like, I think we were cross-booking, let's see, we were playing 2-5-10. So maybe it was 10x? I think it might have been 10x. No, because I would have owed her way more money. Maybe it was like 3x. I think she won like 6,000 in basically 2-5-10 game in like 20 minutes. And I ended up having to pay her almost 20. Wow. It was super fun. Super fun.
So did Jason get his slippers?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's... he loves them. That's his trophy. Luckily, I got even on the last day there. We were playing 10, 25, 50. I had to do it the hard way. We put on the same crossbook. I think it was only 2x though, and I just had to break Lynn. You gotta win those double bonus bucks.
Yeah. I'm glad it ended up going your way.
Yeah. Well, it didn't. I got whacked for the trip. I think I lost like 15K on an app game, and I lost like another 25 playing. Yikes. I got destroyed the first day. I lost like 10K playing 1025, and then I got bled to death over the next 4 days playing like 510. But it was a great trip. Can't complain. Always enjoy it there.
Sounds like you're going to be back sometime.
Yeah, when I build my card house.
Build your card house.
I'm going to build it from the ground up.
Is it going to be the Matt Berkey card house or the Sulphur White card house?
I'm going to make the exact same mistake that I made. Did we miss another big pot?
Probably.
What is going on? Doug seems to have...
Yeah, Doug has all the chips on
It was
blue,
that 3-bet pot. I started talking about it, and then I just like stopped paying attention to it.
It's probably my fault.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah, it looks like Daniel lost a big one there.
But he's also up 55K for the session.
No,
So,
that's probably not adjusted yet. I would imagine
Yeah.
they're much closer to even at this point. Doug does increase his 3-bet size now that they are 100 blinds effective.
that's an you would expect it to go the other way around, wouldn't you? Like that's an odd sizing framework for him to use. What do you think is the thinking behind there?
I think that at 100 blinds depth, polarization's more naturally achieved.
Sure.
So you just decrease SPR for
Mhm.
turn and river play. Whereas at 200 big blinds, you can't go big enough to create the same
Mhm.
simple path to polarization for turns and rivers. So it's critical to just keep SPR really deep.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
You just
That makes
basically I'm making a very technical or giving very technical analysis. The simple explanation is you want to play big pots in position and small ones out.
Right. Yeah.
But you have to have a 3-bet range. So like, what are you gonna do?
Sure.
Yeah, these guys do like some weird things with sizings. Daniel oscillates between 1K and 960 pre. I have no idea what 10% of a big blind does to defense ranges. I can't fathom anything, but Doug does the same thing. Doug oscillates between 960 and like 920.
It has to do some tiny thing, right? I mean, I see him going
Sure.
910 here.
Yeah.
Like, it has to do some tiny thing, but I don't even know why it would be worth the effort on
Can't
either of their
fathom
parts.
how deeply they're digging into the equity threshold. Like I just can't imagine what a 10% difference in bet sizing matters. Or not even 10, no, way less than 10%. What am I talking about? 5%, less,
Yeah.
3%.
I mean, changing it by, like it's
like
like
a
5%.
3% differential.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you'd have to think that it's just some function of trying to, I mean, it has to be somewhat random, right? I mean, it can't be like a differently distributed range. I mean,
No, I think
there's
it adjusts according to stack depth.
Oh, okay.
But
That makes slightly more
it
sense.
makes slightly more sense, but it seems too insignificant. Like it seems like it would make more sense if we were talking about a half a big blind one way or the other, right? Like if you're opening 2x or 2.5x, that seems reasonable. And yeah, they're using what's it called? I can't remember what it's called, but basically they're playing with their stacks are converted to big blinds. So
They're using Table Tamer.
Table, yeah. So their stacks, and Daniel wins a big one there with jacks. Both their stacks and their rate sizes are done in big blinds. So we're probably looking at something like 2.2. So like the opening sizes probably range from like 2.2 to 2.5. And I guess like to some degree that's significant. But like for Doug, it's like between 2.2 and 2.4. Which I don't know, man. I mean, I'm sure it changes something. I'm sure it changes, but it seems like 2.3 would just be like pretty efficient.
Yeah, it seems like keeping it the same would be pretty easy, but
I would
there's gotta
also be
some logic
interested.
behind it.
Yeah, I would also be interested in like how confident we are that the spectrum of sizes being used is quote unquote optimal, and how confident we are that the counter strategy is not monkey wrenched more by getting outside that spectrum. So are we for sure confident that oscillating between a min raise and a 3x isn't better than oscillating between 2.2 and 2.4? Right? Because it seems like the counters are a lot more complex if you have a 3x open and a min raise open. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's gonna, like, the bigger the change you make pre-flop, obviously the more of a ripple effect it's gonna have.
Right, but we don't know how, right? Because it's chaos.
Right, that's what I mean, though. That's the thing. Like you'd have to almost like run one of those multi-board aggregation reports for like two completely separate sets of reports, right? You'd have to run like one where, let's say, button 3x's and big blind calls, and then you see what all the c-bet frequencies and sizes look like, and then another one where the button 2.5x's and the big blind calls, or 2x's and the big blind calls.
Right.
And it just, every slight change you make to pre-flop sizing, kind of there's an exponential growth in how much you have to understand about the post-flop game tree. So it seems like keeping one pre-flop sizing, it would make the post-flop a lot easier. But for some reason, it seems like they both see some benefit in switching up that sizing.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's small enough where maybe it does effectively play the same as one size. And I understand what you're saying. Like, if a more complicated counter strategy occurs for your opponent, well, that could also complicate your personal flop strategy. So you may have to now study a bunch of different nodes. But it does seem like an angle to outwork somebody. Like, if these two came in with the exact same knowledge and the exact same skill base, and we thought that they were each plus or minus one big blind per 100 against one another,
right?
Seems like there's the opportunity to create an edge there if you're willing to examine non-traditional sizings and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a question, which I think is an interesting one. Based on the fact that Daniel is now down 630K going into this session. He was obviously the clear underdog coming into the challenge. He started out getting kind of smashed, and he's made a comeback, and things have been up and down. Do you think that as the underdog coming into this, do you think Daniel has either improved or decreased his reputation as a player? Like, do you think people think he's better than they thought, or people think he's worse than they thought at this point?
For sure better, but I think that the haters just remain. So I think the hard line drawn between Doug and Daniel will never be erased. People who are on the side of Daniel claiming more rake is better are just going to always have negative opinion versus Daniel, even if he came back and won this fucking challenge. Like, he's not going to garner the respect of anybody except maybe Polk to a very, very small degree. Like, when I say a small degree, I mean, like, he might publicly say, like, Daniel was a worthy opponent, despite maybe not even believing it.
Yeah. I definitely think we will see, I think at the end of this, we will see something from Doug that's like a kind of an attempt at being magnanimous, but that's not really very genuine. You know, that just kind of seems like the area where Doug will probably
That's how you keep customers.
Yeah.
You want another heads up match, like that's a good way to keep a customer.
Yeah, that's probably true. See, us tournament players don't have to worry about that.
That's true. You don't get to run the same iteration over and over. Can you hold this down for 1 minute while I run to the restroom?
Of course I can, yeah.
Thanks.
So you guys, it looks like you guys are suggesting names for the Sulfur Y card room in the chat. So the big bet Berkey room. I don't know how the rest of us in the company would feel about the room being named specifically after Berkey. So I don't know about the big bet Berkey room. Oh, we got a raise coming in on the right table, on the blue table. There's an interesting board texture. I'm a little surprised to see a smallish c-bet on that board, but it does make sense given that we're playing heads up, so small c-bets on those boards do occur. Berkey's big bet bodega, that's interesting. Sulfur Y House of Cards, I don't mind that, although I have a feeling that House of Cards might be trademarked, just a feeling. Westminster Berkey, I don't know about that one. I gotta say, because I know it's a play on Westminster Abbey, but like Westminster Abbey is not doesn't really have anything to do with poker, so I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Joe says there's a big bet Berkey room for private game. Okay, that would work. That would work. I kind of like that. We just have it be like the Sulfur Y card house, and then Berkey's room is the room where all the high limit games happen. That could work. I could be down with that. The flop house in honor of all Burke's house guests. I feel like that's a joke I'm probably missing. Oh no, maybe I think I get it. I think I get it. Like they're flops. They're not winning, right? The house guests, they're the losing players. I get it. Okay, that's not too bad. Do we have any more suggestions of names for the Sulfur Y card room? Sulfurware. I like that. Sulfurware. It's really good. That's really good. That might be the best one yet. Sulfurware. But that probably just appeals to my British sense of humor. So I don't know how I don't know how much Berkey's gonna like that. Baldy's room, says Adele Dazeem. Adele Dazeem, that's a reference to something. That's a reference to like when John Travolta got the woman's name wrong at the Oscars or something, right? Caleb's card room. I'll only take 10% for the usage. Wow. Okay. 10%. That's good. That's pretty generous, right, Caleb? I mean, that I appreciate. Excuse me. I appreciate you being generous enough to give us your name for only 10%. You know, only 10% of the profits of that card room. I mean, and we all know that, like, you know, Texas card rooms, like, they don't make a lot of money, right? Like, they don't. That 10% would be like, it'd be like $100 a month, right? You know. Oh, you accidentally deleted it? Oh. Well, I guess the offer is rescinded then. So, okay, I guess we can't use your name anymore. Crumbs, that's very British. That doesn't sound like you, Caleb. It sounds like me. I should be saying that. The Alpha Room, I like that. I like that too. The Alpha Room is good. The Alpha thing is, Sean, no. Sean, come on, dude. That's not happening. And I'm not gonna say that on air too, because I feel like someone's gonna take a clip of that and just like post it somewhere. I mean, it's funny, but it's not happening. Alpha Room is not bad though. Oh, the income is crumbs. Okay. I thought you were saying, oh, crumbs. I deleted the post. All right, we got a big pot happening here on blue table. Low SPR, about a 0.6 SPR on the river. This could be a huge stack building up for Doug here if he takes this one. He's at 135K. Is he going to shove this river? He shoves. Wow. Dnegs just folds. Doug now has 168K in his stack on that left table. Daniel has 118K on the right table. Anyone else notice Dnegs get stacked? Where did he get stacked? Did he get stacked on the left table? The blue table? Didn't see that. I'm paying too much attention to the names for the hypothetical solve for Y card room and not enough attention to the... Oh, Jacks versus Ace King. Wow, okay. Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. I just saw the cards at the end of it. I kind of have... I'm trying to fit the Skype call that I'm using for the broadcast here and the chat onto one screen, and the chat is kind of slightly covering one of the tables. Yeah, that was a big one. On the left, we have, for some reason, the spades are red on the left. That's very odd. And the hearts are green. That overlay is messing with us. Large bet from Daniel on the river, and just a snap call from Doug. Doug takes another one down. So that left table, Doug is, if Daniel gets a double through on that left table, we could really be in for some big pots, because they'll be 200 plus deep at that point. In fact, Daniel could get a double plus a little bit, and we could see 250, 300 big blind deep poker. So could be some interesting hands here to come. You guys have me here today until about 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, because I have a coaching session after this. I spend all my days talking about poker pretty much these days. And when I'm not talking about poker, I'm streaming and I'm talking about mental health. So I'm talking about all kinds of things. But generally, we're talking about poker. And I'm looking forward to hopefully being back for a couple more of these. But I don't know how long it's going to be before they get this challenge done. Probably maybe a few more weeks, I would guess. Something like that. They got about a third of it or so left to go. Pot size bet coming in from Doug on the turn here over on purple table. I know Berkey says table purple, but I say purple table. And since I'm British, I'm right. Nah, I mean, I wouldn't have said that when he was here. But hey, it's my show now. I'm in charge for this couple minutes. What did Matt Hunt do before poker? I have had another job. So I was in college for 4 years. I studied French at university. I then did a excuse me, 1 second. I did a master's degree in transnational studies. I then worked for a nonprofit, a youth nonprofit, running an international exchange program. I was based out of Ireland for about a year or so, and then I became a poker player. Brian asked, was I in healthcare? No, I was not. I've never been in healthcare. Welcome back, Buck.
Thanks, man.
We were discussing.
Wow. What happened?
We were just. Yeah, I know, right? Doug won a couple big ones. They got all in pre Ace King for Doug, Jacks for Daniel, and Doug binked an ace.
Sure.
And we've been discussing potential names for the Solve for Why card room. So my favorite one from Slander Alexander was Solve for Where.
Okay.
I enjoyed that one. The Big Bet Berkey room. I like Joe's suggestion that we should the card room should just be called whatever it's going to be called, Solve for Why Card House or whatever. And then like the high limit room would be Berkey's room or something like that, right?
Sure.
So that would be your room.
That's my legacy.
I'm sure you'd enjoy that.
Yeah. Everybody needs a legacy of some sort. Mine's going to be some random boutique in the middle of nowhere, Dallas.
Hey, well, there's only so many people who get poker rooms named after them.
That's true.
That's a hell of a legacy.
That's true. Daniel made the nuts over on the right, got paid to win a 23K pot. So we're pretty much back to even then. Doug's probably up maybe 15.
Yeah, I think that Doug is up a little.
Big pot here on the blue table. Jack 3-5, 2 spades. I believe this was 3-bet, C-bet. Doug goes with a block bet on the turn. I like this. This makes a lot of sense. He's going to have a lot of 1-pair, 2-pair hands. With the spade, he's going to have some flushes here to balance as well, as he's 3-betting most of his suited hands.
Will we see the river jam? What do you think? Yes or no?
I think on that card, yes.
Yeah, I think. Oh, okay.
Okay, so now I think he probably has some bluff catchers. Maybe ace, queen, no spade. Some queen, jack.
I think he was just waiting for you to say yes or no, and then whatever you said, he was going to do the opposite.
Ace, queen, no spade.
Wow.
Oh, Daniel, I don't like that shove.
Seems a little thin, but I don't know. I mean, he's got to think Doug probably isn't checking a ton of hands better than a queen on the river.
Ace, queen, no spade makes a ton of sense to check.
So it does make a lot of sense.
So does kings, no spade.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, when Doug follows through, well, the thing is, he's still probably betting like ace jack on the turn. I don't know, man. That seems thin. In a 3-bet pot, I don't know if there's a ton of jack X we're going to be getting value from in that particular situation.
Yeah.
Like, basically, we can't shove all of our queens. And if we're shoving queen 6, obviously, we're pretty close to shoving all of our queens.
Yeah.
Now, I imagine he's just like rolling, but still.
Yeah, in order to justify that, Daniel definitely has to think that Doug is relatively capped on that river when he checks, and it seems ambitious because you'd have to think that Doug has a decently protected range there after only going 1/3 on the turn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he necessarily has flushes or straights, but I definitely think he has like queen jack, ace queen, kings, aces, all no spade, as those are going to serve him pretty well as bluff catchers. It's a lot of combos.
Yeah. It's true.
That's going to put Doug in the red, 55,000. Daniel wins a small one on the purple table.
In the green, you mean? Doug's in the green.
Sorry, in the green. Daniel in the red.
Yeah.
55,000. These guys need to have different names, man. D&D, like, you can't do it.
Yeah, I know, right? When you got the tables colored blue and purple, it's hard to remember what red and green and everything else stand for. The red spades on the left table are throwing me a little bit.
Yeah, I've gotten super used to it.
The green hearts, yeah.
Yeah. I just called them hearts for like the first 6 times we used it, and everybody would like correct me in the chat, like, it's a spade. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's the red one in the deck. Like,
yeah, it doesn't even matter what color it is. All that's important is we just distinguish between the suits. Like the suits could be called whatever.
Yeah, it's delineated differently. Yeah, the spades are red on both tables. The hearts are green. A little different hue to the purple table.
Did you know there was I found this out a while back. At one point in the history of decks of cards, there used to be a fifth suit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a fifth suit. It was called Eagles. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the symbol?
It looked kind of cool. It was like a bird symbol, like a sort of stylized graphic of a bird.
Okay.
But then like what's funny is it's kind of a good thing that they stopped using it, because when you look back now, I mean they probably, I think they dropped it in like the 1800s or something, but when you look back now, the eagle kind of looks like the Nazi eagle, like it kind of looks like the Nazi logo, like if you look at it in a certain way. So it's it's pretty good we didn't stick with that, you know.
Sure. So it was a 65 card deck?
I guess, yeah. There was a fifth suit.
Man, that's what we need. Let's just implement a fifth suit. Everybody's fucked.
Hey, I've been saying this for a while. We need to like experiment with the deck, man. Ever since I did that How the Deck Really Works webinar, I've been thinking about let's just change the deck, and you change the whole game, right?
Oh, wow. He had the best hand. I didn't see the two pairs. Daniel stacks Doug on table purple.
Wow.
I was shaking my head like, he went for it again. God damn it, Daniel. But no, he had it. 3-bet call. I think it comes queen high. Oh, king high, 2 hearts. Bet small call. Turn queen. 3/4 call. River ace. Check. Jam.
Shove.
Snap. Ace jack. Ace 10. Same thing.
King queen. Wow.
It's a good hand by Daniel.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we could like merge these tables together and have Doug with 200k against Daniel with 180k, we'd be really in for some interesting poker.
Yeah, we've had a lot of that actually. I'm interested in Doug's turn bet there. I feel like that might be reaching a bit for bluffs.
The turn barrel with ace 10 on that board?
Yeah, for 3/4.
It doesn't feel that bad. I mean,
it can't be terrible, but I feel like the queen hits a lot of Daniel's backdoors that he may just check back. And ace 10 does have some showdown value, whereas like 9-10, jack 9, whatever.
Yeah, that's fair. There's also the opposite side of like it gives him a queen a fair amount, but then how often is he going to be able to call river with a queen? So like if you're just going to like barrel through on a lot of rivers, then maybe you actually do get a decent chunk of folds.
I think most of his queen X that floats has to call.
Really? You just call river with a queen?
Yeah, I mean, if we just like look at, you have to remember how wide these ranges are.
Oh, sure.
Right. So,
but then we were talking about Daniel not being able to value bet top pair in that hand a minute ago. So like, you know, I feel like it's
different texture though. Like the flush came in. I think that like his value bet is, well, the thing is he doesn't get the chance to value bet if the flush doesn't fall on the turn. So if it's like an offsuit queen, the way the line actually ends up playing out is Doug barrels turn larger than he did, so he bets like 3/4. Daniel calls, and then the river Doug probably pots or bets 3/4 again, and Daniel just has a bluff catcher. Yeah. Yeah, I think textures just like really matter a ton.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think if anything, I'm a little bit surprised that Doug didn't barrel the ace river there on the.
I think his check on the river is very good.
I think it's fine. I'm just it's an interesting spot because Daniel is quite condensed into having a king or a queen exactly a lot of the time, and when Doug has ace 10 specifically, he blocks. Well, I guess he doesn't block a good backdoor combo because he had a spade.
Yeah.
So.
And it goes both ways. Like he blocks some of the 10x combos that would bluff, but he also blocks jack 10 for the nuts, which is good.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I was gonna say that
he just the thing is that like through that line work, he just won't really have any other one pair aces to check. So he's obviously going to shove ace queen, ace king, I think. Maybe, I guess he checks like ace king at some frequency. Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
But it's just like a wonky spot because he lands on river at like 3/4 pot.
Right. Yeah. These heads up hands are tricky. You know, I mean, neither of us are long-time online heads up pros like Doug. So
yeah,
maybe Doug knows what we don't.
I mean, I've given him the benefit of the doubt in pretty much 100% of the spots along the way. I wouldn't be shocked to see that ace 10 is maybe a little loose in the barreling Because I don't think ace king. That's the other thing, is that like, I don't think he has ace queen on river as played because of the big bet on the turn.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Speaking of big, this must be a 4-bet pot to arrive at 3/4 pot on the turn.
Yeah.
So probably 10K in pre each. I hate this. He loves to do this. I fucking hate it.
You've been a long time hater of small bets though, so we're not surprised to hear that.
I just don't get it at that SPR. Like, I hate constructing a range that has a bet fold whenever you're going to be getting laid like 6-1 on a shove.
Well, I mean, you were saying earlier that they're both pretty much just like rolling in a lot of spots and trying to kind of obey the solve at this point, and it's pretty likely that the solve has some frequency of a small bet there because the solve.
It wasn't that small though.
Well, it wasn't that small, but the solve really likes to preserve some kind of SPR for river.
Yeah,
That's
but like,
something that I've noticed.
But the SPR at that point would have been 14K into 52,000 or 50,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Daniel's going to bet there to a non-all-in size, the size he used is too big. But
yeah, that's my point. That's why I hate it. I don't hate that there's a small bet on that size.
So if he went like,
it's the price he's laying himself.
9K, you wouldn't have minded it.
I think I would prefer like 20%, so like 4K maybe.
Okay, that's cool. I thought you were just back into like 2018 Berkey mode where
I just don't want him to bet $9,000 and then get laid 14,000 to win 64 and like find folds. It's like, oh, look at this spot. I'm getting almost 7-1 snap muck.
Yeah, I mean it's probably a mistake.
I mean the thing is like the reason why I really think it's a mistake is because he probably has no folds.
Yeah.
So it's just like, just either cut the bet down into half or just like rip range. Maybe I'm oversimplifying. You know, I
think that's probably what he should do. But I mean, it's possible he finds some folds there. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the construction of his range on that turn is going to look like.
Yeah.
But
5 flush falls. You don't see this too often.
The old 5 flush.
Was this a 3-bet pot? 8. Yes, this was a 3-bet pot. So I imagine Doug might just rip here.
They must have gone bet flop check turn though.
Yeah. Ooh. So when he doesn't rip, he has that middling value. I don't imagine Daniel called to chop there. Not a very good proposition given the sizing he was facing.
Yeah, he probably just had like a lower club or some kind of decent bluff catcher.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine Doug's using 2 sizes there. He's probably taking some non-club hands that have decent removal property and just like ripping, and then also ripping like probably the ace of clubs, maybe the queen of clubs as well.
I don't know if you're aware of this, by the way, but I have the Skype here, and then I have the actual stream on my other monitor.
Yeah.
And I can see the viewer count. Like when you went to the bathroom and then came back, we literally lost viewers and then gained viewers back again.
No way. How do they know?
I don't know. You went to the bathroom and then a bunch of people were like, "Oh, I don't want to listen to Hunt." Like, a bunch of people were just like, "Oh, it was just one guy. No, screw him." You know.
How do they even know that I came back? I mean, I guess I'm not going to the bathroom forever.
They just kind of guessed how long it was going to take you to go to the bathroom, I guess, and then they came back after that. You know, after that length of time.
Well,
and here we are.
I apologize for the 10% of people out there who don't enjoy your
Hey,
British
that's
accent.
fine, man. Hey, I'm talking to what we got 209 people watching now. This is about 20 times as many as normally are tuning into my stream. So. Okay. You know, I'm fine to talk. I'm fine talking to 200 people. That's
you hear that? All 200 of you, go out there and subscribe to Matt Hunt's Twitch channel. He's Mental Health Matt. I believe that's correct.
That's the one. That is correct. It's very correct.
Just give him a little jingle. He's trying to build the community. You know, he's doing good. Man. He's out there, one of the good guys, if you will.
Trying to be. Also trying to trying to low key find a way to get paid to play video games. That's my other.
I think that's
alternative goal.
Yeah, I think that's very good. If you can be a grown adult making any sort of revenue off of playing video games and or poker for that matter, you're doing something right for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's nice to I guess it's nice that we live in a world now where there are any number of ways to make a living, right? And streamers are out there providing entertainment and providing communities and are able to make a living doing it, and it's a great thing.
Yeah, streaming's strange to me. it varies between extremely fun and extremely torturous. That has nothing to do with the audience and everything to do with just the nature of poker, I think. But it's strange to me the way we consume now.
We consume a lot.
A lot. A lot. I mean, I just think about like how many hours of podcast I listen to, like in an average year. There's no way that people can make enough. They just can't make enough good entertainment. And the thing is like I'm pretty particular. Like I'm shutting shit off whenever it's not resonating. So it's just like there aren't enough content creators, and there's certainly we're at a weird like almost renaissance, right? We're at like a technological renaissance where you know, if you look back to, you can help me. I'm sure you're better with history than I am. When was the original Renaissance? 1400s or 1600s?
I'm relatively confident 1600s, but okay. I'm not.
That was my instinct, so I'm glad you said that. But yeah, if you look back to like that time,
I'm gonna Google it.
You know, you look back to that time frame, and philosophers were your mathematicians, your scientists, you're basically people who fell into what we would now consider to be the STEM community. They were also out there, you know, trying to create a value system and figure out the lay of the land and what the meaning of life was and all this other stuff. And they didn't have anything to aid them. You know, they're trying to analyze stars and the galaxies and space and all this stuff with very simple tools. Oh, we got an all. God damn it! Hey-oh!
Wow!
There it is.
There's the 10 ball.
I'm not biased at all. Let the guy win a fucking flip once in a while. Jesus, you know, he already lost one. Let's go. He had more outs than just the 10.
We've got 200k stacks in play, and we're probably about even on the day, I think.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Variance,
so
baby.
I Googled it, and Google says there is some debate over the actual start of the Renaissance. However, it is generally believed to have begun in Italy during the 14th century, after the end of the Middle Ages, and reached its height in the 15th century. The Renaissance spread to the rest of Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries.
Okay, so both are correct.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that whole period, and I'm probably looking at it. Yeah. I'm probably looking at it through the lens of my British education, where only stuff that happens in Britain counts.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. No, I get it.
You know.
Okay, so that I mean, yeah, that makes sense, right? So we're talking like between the 14 and 1600s, and you know, they were doing it with very limited technology and just basically a lot of brain power, right? A lot of philosophizing, if you will. I think we finally have gone through enough iterations and cycles with the Industrial Revolution and other major advancements in society, where now technology is so great that we're almost reaching like a technological renaissance. I often refer to it as like a technological revolution, but I think it goes much deeper than that because of the massive amount of computing power and availability and advancements that we're making, such as AI. I think what we're finding is we have more moral dilemmas than we do systematic ones. So there's a lot less simple problem solving taking place through technology now, and a lot more moral gray area that we're forced to parse out. And it's the same thing, right? It's the people in the STEM communities. We're going to, if you look at it branches out a little bit further, right? Because we measure success by dollars. So a lot of the modern day great thinkers, they're not just pigeonholed into the sciences. You'll see financiers, you'll see people like Jordan Peterson, who I think he's a fringe guy to begin with, but you know,
I think he's a fucking hack, but regardless.
Honestly, it's weird because there are some things that he talks about that I think are very valuable, and others that are just like, I think are just like throwaway trash.
Yeah. I think he's one of those people that like struck intellectual gold to a degree when he boiled down all of his concept into 12 rules for life, and then that just kind of like caught fire. Yeah. And then when that got popular, he just thought, "Oh, everybody loves hearing what I have to say about everything."
Well, he's not wrong.
So I mean, that's the irony of it, right? But like the fact that people wanted to listen to him talk meant that he just started spewing out his opinions on all kinds of shit where he's like not remotely qualified. And there's so many there's so many videos out there of like people who are very qualified in specific fields kind of like exposing him, where he'll talk about something as soon as he gets into something like scientific, right?
Mhm.
Where he'll make like a claim about something that's actually like provable in a hard science kind of a way, and he'll just do it in like a throwaway kind of fashion.
Yeah.
And then the person that he's talking with will be like, no, come on, that's actually provably not true.
He
And then
debated, honestly, and I think this is worth watching for anybody who engages in debate or arguments or anything of the sort. He and Sam Harris did an intellectual debate on the existence of God that I think is remarkably well done.
I haven't watched that. I'm a lot bigger on Sam Harris than I am on Jordan Peterson. That's for sure.
And you'll gravitate towards his side for sure. As largely did I, but it was a 2-day long debate that they did publicly in Toronto, I believe. So it ends up being like 4 hours of content, something of that nature. But the biggest reason why I think it's like a must watch is just by how incredibly, I guess, strict to good faith arguments they both were. They really didn't veer off topic much, and they really didn't veer into much in the way of logical fallacies. Every now and again, but the other one would like instantly correct.
Right.
And I think their moderator was Eric Weinstein, who is also an intellect in and of himself, and he just really didn't insert himself very much. So I think like that regard is pretty good. Referring back to like the 12 rules of life or whatever, I think what it is with Peterson is that he found a pretty decent philosophy that works for both him and seemingly impressionable men. That like seems to be the audience that he's targeting the most, is the disenfranchised man, which I actually think is a really large community of people that are seeking some sort of guidance. The issue is that nice pot for Daniel there. Easy bluff catch with jacks. I don't want to say that, but it really was. But I think that ultimately where he goes awry is that where biblical text may be an okay, I guess, like metaphor or fable for creating the 12 rules of life, it doesn't expand into all aspects of sciences or life philosophies or anything of that nature. And he tries to fit everything through that lens. You know what I mean?
And there's no like deferring to somebody else's expertise in some area. It's like, I know about this one thing, therefore I know about everything, and I should talk about everything because everybody loves hearing me talk. And there's a certain thing that I think happens now in our culture with people that do get famous quickly from what they say, or from a certain perspective that they have to offer on life, where
they have a platform where they can start grandstanding.
And that's what it becomes, right? Like you'll see somebody who suddenly gets really popular on Twitter or whatever. Like, I mean, how many like people have we seen that they, you know, they're known for something good, and then they take this like complete left turn where it's like, oh, this person's kind of crazy now, you know? And I think it's just like not necessarily celebrity or fame or whatever, but like a certain amount of attention placed on people believing in what you say, and people buying into your philosophy. It goes to people's heads easily.
We just inherently don't have checks and balances in society, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of the problem, is that you have a lot of people looking for leadership, and only a handful of megaphones that are willing to accept the role, and not all are good faith actors. I think a really great example of this is like a guy like Grant Cardone. He literally did nothing. So he's just a real estate mogul. But for all intent and purposes, he did nothing to garner his platform, right? He just got wealthy buying and selling real estate. And I don't mean to be dismissive, but like if you just watch his content, he deserves to be dismissed. It's just like, even just like the financial advice he gives is trash. It's just by and large trash, and it doesn't apply to the everyday man. And like simple things that are so economically easily disproven. I know I had a friend who was like, yeah, I've been following the Grant Cardone method, and I'm going to be debt free by like January of 2021, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, you know, debt is not that bad in a scenario where the dollar is, you know, ever getting weaker, and
Mm-hmm.
due to inflation, like is worth less and less and less every single year. Like simple concepts, like he couldn't understand why I haven't paid off my student loans yet, despite having
Mm-hmm.
a relatively high net worth. And I was like, because I pay $100 a month on a $20,000 loan spread out over 40 years. Like the interest was paid in the first 3 years. I'm free rolling. The last $100 that I pay will be worth a fraction of what $100 is worth today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there is zero incentive for me to quote unquote clear this debt.
Yeah. That
And
makes me feel a lot better about not paying off my student loans yet. Because I hadn't thought of it that way.
yeah,
But
but
it's
you
true.
just like shouldn't. It's like I have it at
Yeah.
like 2.5% interest that's already been paid. So it's like I'm just paying down principal now, and every single monthly payment that I make is worth less and less and less money to me than it was the month prior.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like touting the opposite, touting like here's your 12-step plan to get debt free in 8 months. It's just like you're just dangling a carrot on a string for people who are afraid of insecurities, right? Like they're financially insecure, so they're just terrified, and you're preying upon that. Now they're giving you dollars to tell them how to not be financially insecure, and it's funny the catch-22 that it creates.
It's true. All right, you can talk some poker for a couple minutes because I got to use the bathroom.
Sure.
I've done my stint
Let's
as a
see
solo presenter.
let's see if the
See if we lose any viewers, right?
or spike maybe.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
All right, guys, I'll get back to strat a little bit. I know we missed a couple big pots there. I was trying to follow. There were two big pots happening simultaneously, but Daniel folded both, so I didn't think it was really worth mentioning. Reading a little bit of the chat. Eric says you should see what happens whenever Chin's left on his own. We lost 4 people. 4 people said, I'm here for Hunt. So that is a small victory for my man. Speaking of small victories, Doug wins a small one on table purple. Single raise pot here on blue. King, 8, 2 spades. Daniel third. Let's call it quarter pots. Turn, jack of spades. I expect this to be 40% or check. Not a lot of big betting coming through on the jack. It does check. River, jack of hearts. This is a little bit interesting for Daniel. Doug may find some big bets here. Okay, he does go for 2x pot. That makes a lot of sense. Daniel's going to have to be particular about his bluff catches, but he needs to bluff catch wider than just a king or a jack. Not much wider, but some ace high is going to have to call, especially if he doesn't have hands like aces or queens in range, though I suspect that he does. Table 2, single raise pot, check down to the river. I expect Doug to bet something here, maybe half pot. 3/4 pot. Daniel will be calling with probably all pairs. He might fold his weakest 3s, although no, he won't because board plays. Oh, that's a big pair. I don't suspect Daniel had king high, given that Doug had 2 kings. It's actually kind of tragic to have 2 kings on that board there when you're Doug, just because king high will be some of Daniel's bluff catching range. But he could also call with queen high because Doug's not value betting king high there, or bluffing with it for that matter. 3-bet table purple, call by Doug. 7-7-6. I suspect we'll see a lot of checks here and some 3/4 pot. No real small betting gonna happen on this texture. This is where Daniel comes out for like 1,500, and I look like an idiot. Okay, chooses 40%. It's kind of a hedge. It's a tweener, if you will. In 3-bet pots, though, that starts to qualify as a little bit bigger. Turn, queen of hearts. I suspect we'll see some potting out of Daniel, but mostly checking. Welcome back, Hunt. We immediately lost 6 viewers when you got up.
6 viewers when I got up.
That's right. 3rd pot here out of Daniel. But we gained 14 before you got back, so I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. It just means our viewership is very unstable, I
Very
suppose.
unstable. River 5 of hearts. This should value Doug. Daniel with the third pot on the turn, I imagine is going to have a fair amount of Queen X. He's going to have some really strong heart draws, like nut flush draws. Oh, he went for it with the old King Queen. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Can you play that back, Andre?
Yeah, that looked like an interesting one.
That's gotta be way too thin. If he's shoving that river with that hand, he has no check calls, I imagine, right? Because there's no way 9s or 10s bet twice.
What's happened here?
So he bet 40% pot flop, which I don't exactly love. Third pot's turn, which is fine. But then the worst card in the deck falls, and he just shoves. He overbet shoves. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very thin.
I don't think thin's the right word. I think it's bad.
Fair.
I mean, I actually think like the entire line is bad. 7-7-6 3-bet pot. He goes 40% on flop. I don't think we're 40%ing there too much. Certainly not with range. And when we show up with like King Queen off, yeah, sure, fine. Maybe we start checking our ace highs, but King Queen can check too. I feel like maybe we have too many bets at that size. That board's just like not one that we're going to be very aggressive on, I don't think. When we turn the queen, of course, like we're going to go third. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of draws are available. We unblock all the hearts. We unblock 8-9. We unblock 6x, which can bluff catch another street. Like all of this makes perfect sense. So we third pot, fine. River's is the 5 of hearts. Everything got there. 8-9 got there. Hearts got there. We're still losing to a 7. I just can't imagine our hand is anything other than a bluff catch. Like I don't think this is a spot to roll.
Yeah.
I don't think we're rolling between a rip and a check. There's no way.
Yeah, maybe it was a roll for like 99 and 1, and he rolled the 1.
But why?
I don't know. I mean,
like why would we ever fit that hand?
If we think we're trying to play according to the solve, then we think it's a very low frequency roll. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would just have to see it to believe it. Like, fine, you can convince me that aces is a roll. Maybe, right? Like maybe I don't know, but like at least he has a queen to call you with some of the time.
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
You can convince me aces with the ace of hearts is a roll, and sometimes we go all in with that. But like, no fucking way. That hand just has to play better check calling off pot and a half than it does shoving pot and a half.
There's a part of me that wants to run it on the side now to just see like
what it
says.
Man.
So I might do that.
Yeah, I'm all for learning.
I have no idea if I'm gonna be using ranges that are remotely appropriate, though. That's the problem. Heads up 3-bet. Okay, that's probably pretty fair. I've got a heads up 3-bet range here on PO. That seems
what percentage is it using out of curiosity?
PO is using. It's a very mixed range, and it's 22.53% of hands.
That seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have guessed between like 22 and 26, so that seems pretty reasonable.
Something like that. What do we got? Heads up 3-bet call. Okay, that's about a 35.6% range.
Seems reasonable.
Wow, it's got like queen deuce suited in it.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, but it has like some other folds that feel kind of intuitive.
I'll just go with those. And then
can you run that one back to Andre? Daniel, I believe, doubled. Yeah, give flop in what you're running. I guess give it like 40 and 75.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, you mean?
Yeah.
And then on turn, what did he make it?
Third.
Okay, so we got.
Whew.
We got to give it.
Nice hand by Daniel. 3-bet the ace-5 suited. C-bet ace-7 deuce. Pretty standard. He could check his hand, but it's okay. Turn is the 4. He turns the gutter. Check calls 3/4. And river is the 3. Yeah, that seems fine by Doug. Ace-9's got to be bottom of range. I imagine he doesn't shove ace-8, but I could be wrong. Daniel definitely has like hands he's betting for protection on flop that can bluff catch river, like kings, maybe less kings, more so like 10s, jacks, queens.
Were they were they about 40k deep in that hand?
About 100 bonds, yeah.
Sure. Okay. So I think I pretty much have a solve that looks like it might be somewhere in that region.
You didn't run it yet, did you?
No, not yet.
Okay, wait, because I'm trying to reconstruct the pot. River, they had 31,000 in a 23k pot. Turn, they bet 5,000, so that's 36,000. Flop, he bet 40% into 8k, so it's like 3 plus 4 is 7. So yeah, like 43k. So
43k. Okay, so 39k deep after the 3-bet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. All right, so yeah, that should work. Yeah, that's probably fine. All right, let's build it. This is fun. Analyzing in real time.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'll be curious how much 40%ing it does. It's definitely going to prove me wrong. It's going to do way more 40%ing than I think it does, I think.
I like that you got that in there, because now no matter what it says, you're covered.
Well, I mean, I just constantly think that I'll never intuitively know for a fact what.
Yeah, I mean, none of us.
And I also just like expect mixes in most spots.
Oh, it's going to mix the hell out of everything, I think.
Yeah, I'm just much more interested in what the dominant strategy is. So if it's checking as the dominant strategy, and then the second dominant strategy is 75%, it's pretty easy for me to dismiss the 40. But if it's like, overwhelmingly betting 40, then
yeah, it'll be interesting, because hypothetically, like if we give it 40 and it prefers that over the 75, the heavier the preference, the more likely it is that if we also gave it a smaller sizing, it would also prefer that.
Right.
So
right.
If we
the real way to test this would have been to do 25 and 75 and just see like how well it mixes between
which
the two.
one came closer. Like if it
because if it's just like pretty even between both, then it makes sense that he goes 40. He's just
right. Exactly. That's tends to be the way that I do it. Like if you have a solve and you give it two sizes that are relatively far apart from each other, and it splits evenly between them, then a sizing that's straight down the middle of those two is probably going to be about the right area. So if it splits between quarter and 2 3/4, then half is going to work pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, here if it goes heavily towards 40%, then the implication would be that a smaller size might make sense. But I think it's likely to do some mixing here. It's tough though, because on paired boards like this, Pio doesn't love large sizings very often, because a lot of the time what's happening is you're betting into a range that has like a very high cap, in that it has at least a few combos of those trips which have really high equity.
Right.
And that has a net effect of causing the other player to want to put less money in the pot on average. So it's interesting to imagine how this readout might occur. My confidence level is
just pretty much in that it's going to check a lot.
Yeah, I expect so, but I wouldn't be shocked. There's nothing that would shock me here. Like I feel like any outcome here, I would be like, okay, well, fair enough. Because it's heads up,
like pretty wide ranges.
Right, exactly. Like if this was a 3-bet pot in a button against big blind full ring scenario, I would feel a lot more confident in asserting what the likely outcome would be. But with these very wide ranges in a heads up deep stack match, it's a little bit more up in the air.
Yeah. Table purple, we have a 4-bet here out of Doug. He goes 10-8 pre. Daniel calls Queen 8-3, 2 hearts. Check. I expect Doug to be really protected here. Probably going to have a lot of like Queen 9, Queen 10. Obviously a lot of 8x, 8-7 suited. Not a lot, but he'll have coverage with it. Probably not much in the way of nutted hands. I don't even think queens would be checking back here too often.
Yeah, unlikely.
Daniel goes small here on the 2-tone turn. He's gonna have a lot of available equity, but that king is not going to be very favorable for his range. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of checking and then facing the 2x pot shove out of Doug.
I would have loved it if Daniel just ripped there. Like, not from a strategy perspective, but just because it would be super interesting to see what the outcome would be.
I really don't think it would make a whole lot of sense.
No, I mean he doesn't really have a lot of hands that that would make sense with there. It would just be an interesting play to see, given that it's very rare you get to the river with 2x pot left on river in a 4-bet pot like that, you know. So
Doug does go for 3/4 on the river and earns the fold.
We're deep on both tables now.
Yeah. Yeah, really deep on table purple. So we're about 250 blinds effective. And I think, you know, I talked about this with Chin a little bit, but if he's willing to, or if he's been studying, I should say, the areas in which Daniel can increase volatility, I think these really deep stacks favor him, right? So if he's willing to pull triggers on, say, like 5-betting a little bit more in that spot, because I imagine at, you know, general practice, he probably has a very tight, if not non-existent, 5-bet range at 200 plus blinds. Yeah. But if he's willing to kind of lean into volatility, these are opportunities to kind of square up when variance falls in your favor, right? Like if good things happen to Daniel, if the deck is in his favor and he's able to win, say, a 225K pot on table purple, that you know, that takes a big bite out of the quote-unquote all-in EV that Doug has been running above up.
Yeah, definitely.
I also think that stat is a silly one to point to. Daniel's right in the sense that it's a measurement of some scenarios where Doug has had unfair distributions, but he's very wrong in the sense of thinking that the match is all square with that aside. Yeah. Or that, like, you could even estimate win rates with that aside. Because, like, what all-in EV doesn't account for is how lucky or unlucky the players are getting without reaching showdown. Right? And, like, that's just happening at a tremendous rate. And it's, you know, being exchanged one way or the other. And it's like, for as bad as Daniel might be running an all-in EV, he may just be running, like, through the roof good in turn distributions or rivers, or, you know what I mean, or flops in 3-bet pots or whatever.
Like, you can just run into the bottom of the guy's range more often than you theoretically should, and he just folds in a spot where sometimes he just snaps. And all of those different things are aspects of variance that go pretty much completely unacknowledged, because the only things that people really talk about are all-in EV, and then maybe they'll start talking about card distribution in the sense that maybe one player's gotten dealt aces more often than the other or something like that, right? But ultimately, you know, it even 25,000 hands isn't necessarily enough for absolutely everything to even out, right? Because the variance in this game is just so extreme.
Well, also, like, they don't get to scrape the data, so we'll just never know. They don't actually get to analyze the true EV that they would if they were able to collect all the hands and run it through PT4.
Yeah, that's true. Very interesting. Very interesting to, like, imagine that, you know, mostly I would expect that players, both Doug and Daniel themselves, and also other players and observers, will probably comb through the footage to figure out frequencies and things like that after the fact. But we won't be seeing that many showdowns, right? Because obviously only a small portion of hands are actually going to go to showdown, and we're going to really lack a lot of the info that we would need in order to figure out whose strategy is actually benefiting in a certain spot, as opposed to just what the outcomes are saying about, you know, who's winning the pots and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's kind of been a tale of two different matches, the front side and the back side of this match. Like, without question, you could just visually see that Doug was winning the red line war. There was no doubt about it. Like, it wasn't remotely close. And now I think it's a lot closer. Like, he may still be redlining in the positive, and Daniel may still be slightly negative, but it's certainly not the same disparity as it was before. But, like, that's something that we can visually observe through just frequencies and recency bias and stuff like that. You have no idea what's happening through, like, 3-bet strategies and C-bet strategies and turn strategy and all this other stuff where, like, you know, it's so nuanced, and you just have to be able to collect the data to have any concept who's actually profiting over the other and to what magnitude.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can't scrape data, you can't really know too much one way or the other.
just the way I like it.
Not the way Nick Howard likes it.
No.
The inverse of the way Nick Howard likes it.
He likes feeling that security. He likes to know for a fact that he's making money, where I like to trust that I'm making money.
I don't know if you've spoken to him lately, but he's doing my thing. He's all off in the emotional realm now. So
Makes sense.
He might be leaving data behind.
Sure.
But at the same time,
now he'll find data for emotions.
Well, you and him will still find stuff to argue about, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're very different. I'm not a very rigid person.
I don't know if he thinks you're rigid and he's wrong, or if he thinks you're too flexible, or what's going on. But it's always interesting when you two have a point of disagreement.
Yeah.
Speaking of points of disagreement, the solve is done.
Okay.
And you will be very surprised to learn that the solve wants to check on this 776 board only 2% of the time.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
So I don't know what I'm talking about. I take it back.
I don't think I know what I'm talking about either, because I wasn't expecting 2%.
No, I'm shocked.
I was expecting maybe like 60-40. It wants to check 2%. It wants to bet 40% of the pot 73% of the time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it wants to bet 75% of the pot the other 25% of the time. The range that bets 40%, I'm just looking here. The range that bets 40% is pretty, diverse.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to have, king, queen off and shit like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have really a lot of, super strong stuff, but if we look at king, queen offsuit specifically, king, queen offsuit is, just like pretty much everything else, it's a heavy bet, and it heavily favors the 40% sizing. So Daniel did get that sizing pretty correct, actually. And if we look beyond that at the flop, what's interesting is it actually wants Doug to raise his queen 7 suited on the flop the vast majority of the time.
Yeah.
Which he did not do.
I would imagine, and I could be wrong, obviously I'm just speculating, but I would imagine, oh, wow, how is that for all in EV, Daniel?
Oh my word.
Cooler Central, Doug turns himself dead hitting a 2-outer. I imagine this check flop. So this is going to be a 3-bet pot. I can only imagine that it went check flop or check bet call flop. Check bet call makes some sense. Oh wow, he did small bet and he floats with the threes. Wow. Small bet. 3/4 all in, snappity do.
Wow. Snappity do. I like that. I like that. All right, so what do we got in the solve? I'm looking at the solve right now. Queen of Hearts was the turn, right? So
yeah. So going back to the flop point, I would imagine, and again I could be wrong because obviously we're looking at the solve, but they're going to be running something way more nuanced than what we're running.
Probably.
Their parameters are going to be a lot more accurate to each of their patterns and things like that. I would imagine Doug probably doesn't expect to see 40% come out of Daniel a lot on that flop. So whether Daniel just maybe checks more than 2%, or really that's what it is. Maybe Daniel just checks more than 2% there, or maybe we got the parameters slightly wrong and a higher checking frequency makes sense. But in any event, if he thinks Daniel is just betting too often, he's just going to raise queen 7 there less, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. So on the turn, the solve, on the Queen of Hearts turn, the solve wants to check only about a quarter of the time.
That makes sense.
26%.
Yep.
And it wants to bet king, queen offsuit. King, queen offsuit favors a 1/3 sizing. Yep. So
that makes
it's
sense
betting a third pot about between 45 and 65% of the time, depending on which exact combo.
Yeah, probably mostly when it doesn't have the King of Hearts.
Actually, King of Hearts, Queen X is right in the middle at 52%. King of Diamonds, Queen of Spades actually having the Queen of Spades seems like the best outcome, or the King of Spades, because that's 64%.
And neither of those were backdoors, I assume.
Yeah, that's right.
That makes sense. So it's Diamond Heart Club for everybody listening at home. Yeah, so the reason why the spades are preferred is because it opens Doug up to having weaker queens that he floated.
Sure. So King Queen bets 1/3 on the turn.
Makes sense.
And then now, if Doug does call the flop, it wants him to just call the turn.
Makes sense
Which
also.
of course makes sense. And the river was the 5 of hearts. And it does want... Oh, interesting. Okay. So given the choice of a shove and a block on the river, so like basically the pot is 24K, and the option is to shove for 31K or to block for 6K.
Or check. Right?
Or check, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
It basically is a pure block with king queen offsuit.
Yeah.
So
that makes perfect sense.
It blocks about 95% of the time. It doesn't shove. If it does block, queen 7 suited obviously just shoves all in, which is very straightforward. The EV difference between, let me check that EV difference between blocking and shoving. EV difference is, it's about, depending on which combo you have, it's anywhere between about a $1,600 and a $2,100 difference between blocking and shoving there. So shoving is still
pretty
making
substantial.
Yeah, shoving is still obviously making money, but yeah, it's definitely a substantial difference. It's fairly substantial in terms of dollars. In terms of percentage of the pot, it doesn't seem like that much.
It's 10%.
But it definitely, yeah. I mean, it's gonna count for a lot. That was the point I was gonna make. Like 10% of the pot counts for a lot.
Yeah, I think when you're making a 5 big blind river error, that's probably pretty significant. Obviously, like you can make greater ones. You can make a 25 big blind, but he had a good hand. If he had king jack and shoved the river, I'm sure that the EV difference between shoving and checking or shoving and blocking or whatever is going to be like maybe 20 blinds.
Actually, with king jack offsuit, the EV difference is much less.
Really?
With king jack offsuit, if you block,
well, I guess you block a lot of queen X.
Yeah, with king jack offsuit, it's the worst combo to block with king jack offsuit is king of spades, jack of clubs, and that's the worst is king of diamonds, jack of spades, and that's negative $492. Shoving would be negative 1,400 with that combo. So it's about a 9.
That's adjusted for these stakes, is that missing zeros?
The same. It's in the same terms as I expressed the other one. So
yeah.
This is a $900 difference. So it's less of a relative mistake here to shove king jack offsuit with no heart than it is to shove king queen instead of blocking, basically.
That makes some fundamental sense. King jack's going to block some of the queen X call downs, where you actually could get a fold some of the time. It unblocks the single hard hands that call twice and then fold. Where king queen just kind of just gets clipped by better. Yeah.
So here's an interesting question. What do you think should be Daniel's triple off bluffs there for the shove? Like what do you think he bluff shoves a river with? What type of combos would you expect?
I would say he would want to lean into the ace of hearts, but I'm not sure how often he gets there through this line work.
You pretty much nailed it. The shoves are almost exclusively the ace 8 off plus with primarily the ace of hearts, but a decent chunk of king of hearts, jack of hearts, 10, 9, or even some small amount of 8 of hearts because it blocks the straight and the flush
draws. Yeah.
So it's basically ace X offsuit is supposed to barrel the turn because it has the heart and then can barrel the river. So it's an interesting board on which to barrel off with those offsuit ace highs, but apparently that's what
it makes sense if you start with good property. So if you have a hand like ace 8 that blocks the 7 and has 3 to a straight and 3 to a flush, that makes a lot of sense. Big pot here on table blue that ultimately ran out a 1-liner and a 3 flush.
Oh wow. I hate these boards, man. I play these boards really bad.
It's so brutal. Doug comes with pot, gets called by the nut.
Ooh.
Well, I'm surprised he snapped.
Not the nut.
No, I know. Well, the king of club blocker is really nice.
Yeah, the nut with the nut.
He didn't just have ace king. He had ace king with the second nut blocker, which is nice. I guess that's probably a pure call and never a shove. But I'm surprised that he just absolutely... they're super deep. What am I talking about? Never mind. That would have been ridiculous at 7 SPR in the river. I guess
pretty crazy. You're so deep on both tables now. This is nuts.
I love it. Let's go. I hope they play another 2.5 hours. Like I said, man, I think this is a huge opportunity for Daniel. I asked this regarding the second combination, but like when you ran the solve, did you actually run it for these stakes and numbers, or did you simplify it by
No,
0?
I ran it for these stakes and numbers.
Oh, okay,
I put the starting pot as 8,000.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I mean it's
I didn't know if
the
that
numbers that
affected
we're getting are equivalent.
shows my limited scope of how the sims actually run. I didn't know if that impacted speed.
No, it doesn't impact anything.
Right, it's just SBR, right? As
Just
long as
yeah,
SBR
I
is
mean
the same.
it all it affects is just how many zeros are on the end of the number. You know?
Yeah, so pretty interesting. I think we need to figure out a way to incorporate demonstrating these solves mid-game like that. You know, don't lose the action, but like in a simple spot that you can actually run pretty quickly, especially like 3 and 4 bet pots, I think are the best.
Well, I don't imagine Chin's going to be volunteering for that, so I imagine that's going to either fall to you or you're going to have to get me on board a little bit more often.
You're always welcome. You can become the resident solver guy despite hating.
Hey,
that.
I mean, I've been the resident solver guy for how long now in this company? So
I know it's true.
But I mean, honestly, it's a question of time. Like, these things are happening on days when I very often have commitments. So I'm grateful I was able to find a Monday to be here. But I'm hoping I can come back. Yeah.
Well, that'll be like the real dream is whenever we actually can work a 3-way, so that you. I know this sounds reductive, but it's not meant to be, and it's only going to really sound reductive because you're not going to be familiar with the reference. But I don't know how much Sports Center or sorry, ESPN you watch, but there's a show PTI, Pardon the Interruption.
I mean, I know that show.
Okay, so it's been around.
I don't watch it, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, so it's been around for probably 18, 20 years now. When it originated, Tony Reali, the now host of Around the Horn.
I was about to say, like, who's this guy, Tony Reali? Yeah. That sounds like an interesting.
No, Tony Reali, who ultimately became the host of Around the Horn, which is the show that I think precedes Pardon the Interruption on the schedule. He originated on the show as Stat Boy, so he had a segment in every show, like in like the C block, where they were coming into the final third, where they would just like cut the Stat Boy and say like any errors, like yada yada yada, right? And he would just do a quick rendition of like what was going on, and it's like it's kind of the same thing. It's like solver guy, right? It's like where you're just kind of like in the corner, you know, crunching your data or whatever, and like let's cut the solver guy. And Hunt just comes up. He's like, "Well, you'll be surprised to know that on 776 Rainbow, we actually don't do any checking at all."
Yeah, well, you'll be possibly a little disappointed to know that sounds like a nightmare for me.
Yeah,
so
no, I understand.
We're not going to do it that way. I'm telling you right now. We're not going to just have me like in a corner just working on solves.
Well, we don't know if you're in a corner or if you're in a hut in the middle of the desert. You know, it's your background, man.
I could be anywhere, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm just here for the solves, right? So.
Well, also just, you know, you're back. Like, yeah, it would be more like you become this like NASA scientist who's crunching data on the side, and then every time we cut to you, you just go full screen with this readout.
I mean, if I thought that there was ever a chance that people who do a lot of solver work would be respected in the way that NASA scientists are, then I might like that idea. But the reality is that Stat Boy is basically how people perceive anybody who uses a solver already.
That's true.
So I don't want to lean any further.
He got his own show.
He got his own show.
He's had his own show for 15 years.
Sure, but I'm sure he
have your own show, Man versus Machine.
Yeah, where did that end up? Where is that now?
Well, we had a virus, Matt. Okay, you know the computer's been infected, but at some point we're gonna get Norton in here, and we're gonna correct things. Stuff will get back to normal.
At some point, there's gonna be more episodes of Man vs. Machine. I hope.
Yeah, for sure. I think that not only is that a show that we can continue somewhere down the line, but I think that it has a certain evolutionary process to it. Like I think like we'll be on like iteration 3 of it by the time that it comes back. Like I thought the Pluribus season was super interesting, but it was like effectively a quarantine season. It was just you and your solver.
Well, what's funny is that was actually done basically before quarantine started.
Right.
It was me voluntarily quarantining myself because I was like so into into studying Pluribus.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, I came out with the conclusion that Pluribus does a bunch of crazy shit and humans don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And I spent way too much time on that series, ultimately, but it was really interesting. And the iteration of man versus machine that comes out of, you know, whatever we do next, like at the very least, I think the episodes have to be shorter, because honestly, like, those episodes were exhausting to make. So
I think
we'll make it a little bit more snappy and concise, I guess.
How much of like Finding Equilibrium stuff have you watched?
A lot.
I think that's the vein by which we would want to do it.
I would love to do that. If anything, the only worry I would have would be coming off like a ripoff, you know, because he does what he does so well. And,
but it's on our site, not on YouTube. So like,
oh sure, yeah. I just mean we've talked about doing a lot of stuff related to Poker Out Loud. So like, I think we'd kind of have to give it that sort of vein, you know.
I don't think that I don't think that, like, when you give proper dues or whatever, basically stealing templates, in my opinion, it's just the nature of the beast. Like 2020 hindsight that I did for Poker Go, the entire template that Pigtails created was just a total ripoff of I can't remember the name of the show, but it's an ESPN show where Kobe, I think, was the first one to do it. Man, I'm not remembering the name of the show, but anyway, like, basically he breaks down game footage and just like pauses here and there, and like these pop-ups come up explaining his thoughts deeper. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, you know,
it's a good idea.
Originality is nice whenever you can come up with something original, but it's really difficult to have any original ideas at this point. I'm sure they weren't the first to do it either, you know.
Yeah.
Same thing with Poker Out Loud. We weren't even the first to do that.
Yeah, it's true. Are the pundits? I don't watch a ton of ESPN for sports that everybody actually cares about here. I always watch soccer. So like, are the pundits on ESPN for other sports as clueless as their soccer pundits? Because their soccer pundits are literally the worst. I have never heard anybody talk more shit about soccer than the ESPN soccer guys.
Well, yeah, that's because they're pandering to an American audience, and we think soccer is a stupid sport.
Oh no! They get British guys to come in, except they just it's like they handpick the most clueless guys.
Right.
They have one guy that I'm literally convinced they just picked him because he has a Scottish accent and they think the audience likes that, you know.
They do.
So like,
great. I can't remember the name of the golf announcer, but people love him. Although it might not be a Scottish accent. I could be wrong. It might be Australian. Anyway, people love an accent is what I'm getting at.
Any Scottish or Australian person in the chat now is like, how can you confuse those two accents?
Well, I'm not necessarily confusing them. Guys. I just know that the guy has a thick accent.
Okay.
And my memory doesn't serve me which way it leans. Okay. But my heart is telling me it's Scottish. I want it to be Scottish. Let's put it that way.
So to put you on the spot, if I gave you a Scottish and an Australian accent, would you be able to tell which one's which?
Oh yeah, for sure. I would struggle more between Australian and England or English.
Okay, yeah, because I get that a lot. I think now that my accent is washing out a little bit, I get asked if I'm Australian.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird for me because there's a lot of like sort of friendly animosity between the English and the Australians.
Well, they're just like English criminals, Matt.
That's funny. That's funny, Dave.
The island of misfit toys over there. That's all.
New Zealand is the real island of misfit toys because New Zealand is Australia, but like Australia's little brother, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I love it there, and I love the Australian people because they love us.
Yeah.
I won't talk too much shit.
We're all joking. I mean, I don't think there's a more popular. Well, maybe there are. I don't know, but like basically. No one actually genuinely dislikes Australians or New Zealanders. Like they're all, they're all, I think, very popular worldwide wherever you go.
Yeah, Australia's beautiful too. The only thing the only negative thing you can say about the place is they drive on the wrong side of the road and their animals are terrifying.
Yeah, you know what? I've never had the chance to go to Australia, but I am absolutely terrified of spending a lot of time there because holy crap, I don't even do well in the sun.
The sun should be your biggest concern.
I mean, the sun is my worst enemy anyway, right? There's a reason I'm in the dark, right?
Yeah, no, it's hot there.
Like the sun is my worst enemy as it stands, but like imagine like Nevada plus like a whole bunch of really scary creatures that don't even exist here in the Nevada desert. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. It's like I'm just not sure what activities we can do there that don't potentially run the threat of us being eaten.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's wild.
scary. They're like, yeah, go get in the ocean. I'm like, are you sure? I'm not so sure.
Aussies are okay. At least they play proper sports, says Ian. Yeah, they do. That's true.
I like rugby. I like the idea of rugby.
Rugby's an interesting sport. I played rugby as a kid. I was never good at it, but I played rugby as a kid.
Yeah.
Playing rugby as a kid's probably like the most. It's probably the most generic sports guy thing that I ever did as a kid.
You just throw a ball in the middle of a field and say like, go tackle whoever has this.
Yeah, that's pretty much what rugby is.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of nailed it right there.
Yeah. Rugby and Aussie rule football are the same thing, right? They're interchangeable? No. What's the difference?
Not actually particularly close, to be honest. Like rugby, really? Yeah, they have very different rule sets. Rugby only has one set of goalposts. Aussie rules has 2 tall posts in the middle and then 2 shorter ones outside of that.
Okay.
And they have a whole set of rules about whether you kick it between the middle posts or between the outer posts or whatever else is going on. Like Aussie rules is definitely pretty different.
Okay, interesting. 4-bet pot here on Table Purple. Jack 9-6, 2 hearts. Wouldn't be shocked to see a fair amount of checking out of Daniel here. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say he's not going to do a lot of quarter potting here.
4-bet pot with a 6-1 SPR. That's not very common, huh?
He quarter potted. Jesus Christ.
That's great.
I just...
They wait for what you say, right?
Yeah.
They just wait. They wait to see what you're going to say. And they...
this is scary at this depth. I'm really not surprised to see this. Doug has so much equity on this particular texture. Like, you just don't get to range bet a 4-bet pot on Jack 9-6 because you're not wide enough as the 4-better, right? Doug is still going to have a lot of 7-8 in range, a lot of Queen 10 in range, a lot of 9x of hearts in range, a lot of Jack 9 in range. Just, hands that are a little bit reduced from the 4-better's perspective. So it's like, if you just come out firing with King Queen, no heart, you're miserable. You're just miserable in that spot. Or worse, Ace Queen, Ace King, like... Get the solver up. Get it up. I gotta get one of these right. God damn it.
You gotta give me some 4-bet pot ranges to put in though, because that's.
Oh right, because it's probably not. And it's also 300 blinds effective.
Yeah, like I don't know what the hell ranges I'm supposed to put in there. So.
Me either at this point.
Yeah. 300 big blinds deep, heads up. 4-bet pots are the point where we both just kind of throw our hands up and say,
almost 400 blinds. Almost 400 blinds effective.
This is nuts.
The plus minus right now is like 15K too. That's the funny part.
Yeah. Here's a question. I don't know if I've ever asked you this before. Yeah. What do you think what's the deepest stack poker you've ever played?
Probably like some small stake game where I was a few thousand blinds deep.
But like not just your stack, but someone else has to be that deep as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. In like 2012, I played a lot of 1020 where I was 2,000 blinds deep. And like effective. Guys like me, Chance, Ben Lamb, we would come in, we would buy him for 20K, 40K even. I remember like my first 50K pot was my first 70K pot was at 1020.
Wow.
So yeah, like that's pretty deep.
Yeah, that's pretty deep stacked. And then when it comes to,
I mean, I won a 75K pot heads up online playing 2550.
Yeah, that's wild. We've all seen you on the TV cash games. We've all seen you on some TV cash games sit way deeper than you need to be in the game. Like there's been a couple of Poker After Darks where you've come to like a game and you've had like 10 buy-ins just like on the table right there.
Yeah.
What's the most extreme version of that you've ever done? Just like with your own sort of stack buying in. Because I know you must have flexed on some people at some point with a huge stack that dwarfed everybody else's.
I really don't think people have done it to me. I remember a guy like coming and playing 1020 that wasn't a whale. He was like a reg, I would say.
Yeah.
And not like an impressive reg, but like a reg who had availability to bigger games.
Right.
This is probably like 2012, and he just like sat with a rack of flag, or not a rack, but a stack of flags. So he just like bought into 1020 for 100K. And it's just like, okay, that's a bit aggressive.
Yeah. What's even the point of that? Like.
It was to let us know he was waiting for a bigger game.
Yeah.
And it's okay, man, cool. I get it. I literally have one flag on the fucking table. Like, congratulations.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I never really did that. I've played some 1020 while waiting for the big game, and I've had mostly just big chips. But even still, I'm probably buying in like 20K most.
So it's not like Brad Booth style where you're just like bringing everything from your bank account, just like throwing it on the table.
I just think it's like I think it's in poor form for the other people you're playing against, but also B, I just think like it puts a huge target on you.
It does. Like I've never understood why more people don't sort of enjoy kind of flying under the radar a little bit, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, I have a box and I'm never going to have money on me anyway. So, like, if you rob me, I'm just going to take a beating for fucking nothing. But I also don't want to increase the likelihood that I get robbed.
Yeah, that's
to
another
take
part
this
of it,
beating for no reason. Like, sorry, I have $200 on me for walking around money just so that, this beating is worthwhile for you. But 3-bet pot here on purple. King 7-7-2 clubs. We see Daniel stab for, looks like about third pot. Get called, turn 6 of hearts.
Well, if it's a 3-bet pot and there's only 11K in the pot, though, wouldn't that mean he would probably have stabbed really small?
Yeah, there was 7,800 in there sorry, 72.
Oh yeah,
7,200 in there pre. So,
okay, so
yeah,
he made it
so
3,600.
Yeah, and then he bet like 2K on the flop.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Quarter pot, I guess.
I was thinking he 3-bet to like 4K and then bet 1.5.
They're super deep now, so now the 3-bets are getting a lot smaller.
Yeah, interesting.
Nice hand by Daniel.
He's king.
Tricky run out for him. Probably wins less with that hand in that spot than he otherwise would have on a different run out. A little deuce of spade turn would have been nice.
Yes, it would. Slanders in chat says best sports show of recent history is Ted Lasso. I've heard that's really good.
I don't know what that is.
I was very skeptical about it because the commercials with Ted Lasso were funny, right? But nobody really thinks that turning a commercial into a TV show is ever really a good idea. But I have heard that's really good, so I might give it a watch. But I don't like the fact that there's a million different streaming services right now, and I keep finding reasons to sign up to new ones and then forgetting to like cancel them.
It's brutal.
So I know, right?
I've considered getting rid of DirecTV because I'm paying like $250 a month, I think, plus an additional 100 a month during football season.
You still have cable? Wow.
I mean, I have DirecTV, but the thing is, I get all of those streaming services included.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
So I have like HBO Max, Disney Plus, ABC, NBC. Like literally every single channel is developing their own streaming platform. But then it's like I'm wondering, like, well, maybe if I got all the streaming platforms individually, that's still maybe cheaper monthly. I would just have to manage like 12 subscription services, which is fucking obnoxious.
Yeah, you can get most of what you need through like Hulu and a couple of other like ESPN Plus and things like that, honestly. So
yeah.
I don't like, I used to have Hulu and Sling TV, but a lot of the channels are just duplicated. So once you know kind of what you need, you can pretty much just pick and choose, and then you can like cancel one and pick up the other during a certain time of the year sometimes or whatever. So like I don't think there's too much need to get every single one of them because there's so much duplication, you know?
Yeah, I also need to figure out if like it's viable to buy the what the hell is it called? The NFL ticket, Sunday ticket. If you can viably buy that as a one-off, if you don't have DirecTV. I think that you can, but I'm not entirely sure.
So I don't need. What does that get you? Does that get you like every Sunday game?
Yeah. The only issue is that because of local blackouts, there's occasions where your team will be playing the national game, and that game will not be blacked out. So you just really well, the thing is, if you have the other streaming platforms, it's fine. So like it'll be on CBS or NBC or whatever the case may be, and that's all well and good. I guess like the issues become like, so if the Steelers were playing the Raiders, and it weren't the national game, which it would very unlikely be the national game. Yeah. Now it's also blacked out here because the Raiders are local.
Right. Yeah.
and I would just be fucked. But
yeah, the blackouts suck.
yeah, that would be a rarity, I think.
And I gotta tell you though, when it comes to streaming services and sports and things, like it is a million times easier to be a soccer fan here than it was in the UK. I can watch more soccer here in the US than I ever could back at home. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that's still true today though?
100%. 100%. It's because it gets more and more expensive all the time back in the UK, but it's super cheap and easy right here.
Wow.
So like, honestly, one of my favorite things about being here is I can wake up on a Saturday or Sunday morning and just watch like 4 soccer games back to back.
Yeah.
And I'm paying like a few bucks a month for the privilege of doing that, but I would be paying the equivalent of like $100 a month for a few games if I was back in the UK. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me because at that price, I just can't imagine that those services do well.
They make a killing.
In
You're
the UK?
underestimating how you're underestimating how desperate people are to watch their teams in the UK. Yeah, like if you look at the money that's made by Sky TV in the UK, which is the major cable service, they make money from 2 major sources. People having it in their homes, which is mostly like middle and upper class people because it's expensive, and then every pub and bar in the entire country having it and getting people to come in every time there's a game on, because people watching games in bars.
It's the same thing for the NFL.
Sure, yeah, but it's just such a big part of the culture around sports, and bars basically pay through the nose to get the rights to show games.
It's tough here. They have to pay not for like football and stuff like that, but for pay-per-view stuff. So say it's an MMA match, they have to pay it's like 10%. I think they have to pay like X amount of dollars per percentage of their occupancy. So like say it's like say it's like $100 per person up to like 10% of their occupancy or something of that nature. It's outrageous. Crazy. But like obviously like it's worth it because they can make the money back.
That's crazy. So I'm getting questions about soccer in the chat. I'm going to field a couple of them.
Sure.
Lisa says all you need is be in sports. Yeah, I don't have be in sports right now, but I used to have it. They have a lot of great Italian and Spanish games, and they have the greatest commentator in the world. I can't remember his name. Jeez. There's just a really crazy commentator that they have. Caleb says Lego Tottenham. You're a Tottenham fan. Interesting. Ian asked me which team. I am Portsmouth fan. So it's been a long time since I got to see my team in the Premier League, but we might be getting promoted this season. So that's something for me to look forward to. Where are we? What else do we have? Lisa says it's a tough life as a gunner. Wow. So we've got an Arsenal fan and a Tottenham fan in the chat here. So Lisa and Caleb are about to pretty much go to war, I would assume right now, because you two guys now you hate each other for life. That's how it is now. You guys hate each other. So I hope you're aware of that. It's shit. You know exactly who I'm talking about, Lisa, right? It's Ray something. I forget his name. And then what else? Spurs doing well. I like Mourinho. Yes, me too.
Lisa's from Florida. How the fuck does she know so much about soccer?
Hey, people watch soccer in this country, man. They wouldn't show it on TV if nobody watched it. It wouldn't make any money if nobody watched it.
Yeah, that's true.
What happened to Burnley?
Whoa!
Won 3-0 today? Oh, Arsenal won.
Hold up. Cut to the purple table. This has to be a misclick.
That is nuts.
So first of all, Daniel's size on the river here is weird. I don't really think we're
offside.
What is that, like 20-30%, I guess?
Yeah, it's just a block. I don't mind it.
In position though, that's pretty rare.
Oh, that is rare, yeah. This is a crazy check raise.
There has to be a misclick.
I don't think
maybe
it is
it's a fake. Maybe it's a fake misclick. I don't know.
Because he wouldn't raise to 6,500, would he? Because it's tiny. So Ray Hudson.
I mean, it's a one-liner. I think 6,500 is reasonable.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Ray Hudson. Thank you, Philly Joe and Jake Perry in the chat. Ray Hudson is who he is. He's the greatest and most hilarious commentator of all time.
I wonder if Daniel starts folding a 5 there. That would be fucking outrageous if you folded a 5.
Yeah, that would be outrageous. I don't think he can possibly fold a 5 there. Dom says I'm so ignorant about non-US sports. Let's get back to the LeBron v Jordan talks. Joe says lifetime gunner. My family are Arsenal fans going way back actually. My grandfather was an Arsenal fan for like 80 years, and my uncles are Arsenal fans. If I had to pick a Premier League team, I would pick Arsenal. But it's not a good year to be doing that. So like this season has been quite bad from an Arsenal perspective. But I'm probably alienating the hell out of half our audience right now, so I'll shut up about soccer.
You think half? Oh, yeah. No, I'm gonna finish my sentence. Do you think half our audience cares about soccer?
No, I mean, okay, half of our audience is an expression. It's an expression that
Matt, let's be
approximates
clear.
the
You're
fact that I
alienating
am
90% of our
a lot.
audience.
I don't know. Just given the fact that we've had multiple people in chat here calling out like, oh, what team do you support? Like things like that. I would bet the number of people in our chat who care about soccer to some degree is definitely greater than 30%. That would be my bet.
That's a strong line.
Well, when you consider that soccer is now more popular than hockey among certain demographics in the US, soccer is actually pretty popular. There you go.
Hockey is very unpopular.
Hockey's not unpopular. Come on.
It's the third most. It's below baseball.
Right. But now soccer is tying with hockey basically right now.
Big pot here.
Jonathan McGuigan. Yes.
On purple.
Thank you, Jonathan McGuigan.
Doug, check raises turn. 10-6-6, 2 clubs.
Oh,
turn
wow.
juice of clubs, he check raises.
This could be. Would this be the biggest pot of the whole time whole thing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Doug's repping full. Doug's repping full the whole way here, especially when the ace of clubs hits river.
Yeah.
Pretty unlikely he's check raising king high flushes on the turn. So it's possible that he could have a hand like king 10, king of clubs. But now I don't really think he wants to rip with that particular holding, given that, sure, he blocks full houses and Daniel could potentially call with worse, but the board texture changed in a way that's going to hurt Daniel's bluff catchers.
God, I really hope Daniel calls.
Doug could be turning a 6 into a bluff, though.
That would be wild.
Yeah. Doug could also just have a 6.
Be even wilder if he does that and then gets called by worse.
Not possible. I don't think there's any hand in Daniel's range that can call
he
with worse than
folded.
a 6.
Damn it. Oh, I was really hoping he would call.
If you stick around long enough, you'll notice that when Doug makes very large bets, Daniel folds a very high percentage of the time.
Yeah,
But
I'm assuming he does.
you're kind of supposed to.
Chat is getting pretty lively. So chat, there's a few people in chat saying, come on, people care about soccer. So there you go. People care about soccer in this country. I tell you what, when the World Cup happens, when the World Cup happens, don't get me started. Don't go down that route. There's not a big crossover between those two demographics, I'll tell you.
No, that I believe. 3-bet and a call on table blue. Ace 8 5 2 spades. Doug's gonna lead for very, very small, 20%. Daniel finds a raise, small raise. He'll do this with some ace X, probably some 8-7, 8-9 type hands. Maybe a little bit of 5x of spades.
Yeah, that type of stuff seems pretty logical. Okay, so so everybody's debating it in chat. I just Googled popularity of soccer in the US, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's what there was a poll done in 2018 by Gallup, so a reputable polling company. What percentage of Americans do you think cited soccer as their favorite sport to watch?
12.
It's actually 7.
Okay.
What percent?
I felt high,
what percent do you think cited baseball?
Less.
It's 9%.
Okay. I knew baseball polled though. And hockey, I think, is lower than both, or at least lower than baseball.
Let me see. I can't tell from this article, but I'm surprised by baseball being at 9%. Like
It's very
like
low.
what's even pulling in the rest of the numbers? Is it just football?
Football, basketball, yeah.
Wow.
The Super Bowl and the NBA Finals gets like, I think it gets, I can't remember how Nielsen ratings work, but whatever it is, I think their Nielsen rating is like 5 or 6x what the World Series is.
Wow. In 2017, Gallup reported that soccer was the third most watched team sport in the U.S., behind only basketball and American football. There you go.
Makes sense. Overbet by Daniel wins. Purple table, we have a 3-bet and a call. Doug again bets 20%. Similar board texture. Rainbow this time. 5 of spades is going to be somewhat favorable for Daniel. I think there's probably an even distribution of 7-8.
Yeah, seems about right. Doug taking down another one. We got some big stacks in play today. Would have been even bigger if Daniel made that call. But...
Oh. I just want to see him call for the pain. I mean, I want to see him call and win, obviously, but...
I just wanted to see, like, what would that have been, like a 350k pot?
Yeah.
That would have been
I'm just
ridiculous.
curious how tightly he's folding there. Like, how often is the Queen of Clubs hitting the muck there?
Yeah, I don't know.
It has to be... I mean, I guess, like, Queen 10's a better call than just any queen. But...
Yeah.
I feel like it was... I think it was a 3-bet pot, C-bet, check raised by Doug, if I recall correctly.
So what do you think's a better bluff catcher in that spot then? The queen, like Queen of Clubs 10, or like a 6?
Probably the Queen of Clubs 10. Because I imagine for Doug to show up with, like, I don't think he check raises Ace King, King of Clubs on the turn. Seems unnecessary. He may be check raising like King Queen, King of Clubs at some frequency. It's just really difficult for him to have a check raise line that involves the King of Clubs unless it's like Kings. Now, okay, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. But again, like, I don't know, man. Daniel just has a 6 advantage at that point. Like, how much do you really want to be check raising kings?
Yeah, that's one of those spots where. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like blocking the 10 is pretty important.
Yeah, I think blocking the 10 in it. If it was a 3-bet pot, I think blocking the 10 is slightly more important than blocking like Ace 6 and 6 deuce and things like that. You know.
I'm just wondering what he folded, because like, how do you bet call turn and not just have pretty much a pure bluff catcher on the river?
Yeah, that's
I guess you'll have like
part.
some 10x that doesn't have a club. I don't know though. Maybe not.
Yeah, possibly not.
Maybe he has like 6x, a fair amount that doesn't possess a club.
Yeah, that would make sense if he had something like 6x without a club and he tanks and then decides to fold.
I think I would call with a 6.
What's that?
I think I would call with a 6.
Against Doug specifically? Or just generally?
Just in general. I mean, obviously it's probably a mix, but the thing is I'm just really struggling to see how he arrives at river with the King of Clubs when the ace hits the river. Like, I just don't think very many hands at that depth start check raising turn that possess the King of Clubs. So it's kind of like you're going to show me 10s or nothing.
Right. That's pretty fair.
At that point, it's just going to be like, all right, man, show me the 3 combos with the hands that have me beat.
Right. Oh, Lisa asked in chat, where did I live in the UK? I lived in mostly in Southampton. So being a Portsmouth fan, that was a little awkward. But I'm originally from a tiny town in the southwest, but spent about 10 years in Southampton at college and afterwards before I moved to the US. So that's kind of my home from home, home away from home. Now Vegas is my home, away from home.
It's true. We got you.
I don't know for how long though. The last like 6 months or so is the first time when I've started to be like, man, I could I could really go back home, and I wouldn't mind. I guess maybe just not being able to travel because of the pandemic has me thinking about, oh, I wish I could go back home, you know. But I gotta tell you, I could go for some rain right about now. I am definitely, like, after like what 3+ years in the desert, I wouldn't mind going back to the UK and just experiencing some nice gray, rainy weather again. It definitely would.
So awful.
I know it does. But
Man.
I can't express to you what 100+ degrees feels like to me.
Yeah.
In the portions of the year here where I can't really go outside very easily, and so, you know, just being outside is nice.
I just feel like I would be clinically depressed. Like, even living in Seattle, I just feel like...
we all are. Like, most British people are.
Sure.
But you know, we find ways to cope with it.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. So sick, man. These stacks are infinite right now. Doug is up $5,000.
That is crazy.
What a swingy day.
Really crazy. Are they, you think they're considering stopping?
No. Dana Rose takes a lot of pee breaks. I would imagine that he will play another hour.
Okay.
Maybe longer if they stay at this depth, to be honest, because I think it favors him from a quote-unquote gambling standpoint. Maybe not from a bottom line standpoint. Like, he might be losing slightly more big blinds per 100 at this depth, but
yeah, he
certainly has a chance to have variance fall his way and just, you know, rip off a big one.
Yeah. I mean, if he had called and won that huge pot, like, he'd be within 400K now, right? Like,
yeah.
That would be nuts.
That would have been a big swing.
Yeah, huge swing. You got me for about 10 more minutes. Okay. So if anybody has more questions in the chat directed at me about random things like soccer or the UK or anything like that, you feel free to go ahead.
Did you own an umbrella?
Did I own an umbrella? Yes. Not a big fan of umbrellas. I would prefer to just get like a hoodie with a waterproof hood or something, but
yeah,
I have owned a variety of umbrellas in my life, yes.
I couldn't imagine having to live somewhere where an umbrella was a necessity.
Wow.
That seems awful.
It wasn't a necessity with you living in Pittsburgh?
I mean, it rained, sure, but like not to the point where, like, when it rained, you were often at least somewhat caught off guard. You know, not that it's not raining 25% of the time throughout the year, but also some of that time is just snow, and you don't need an umbrella for snow.
That's fair. See, we get very little snow in the UK, very little snow, and that's what makes it bearable. Like the rain, you know, it'll be cold and rainy a fair amount, and it's definitely uncomfortable. But like the days where we actually get like snowed in or whatever, or like extreme weather, it's really, really rare. We have like some parts in the north of the UK will get like flooding and stuff, and it definitely snows a bit more in the north than it does in the south. But the south of the UK, the weather is really not that bad. Summers are great.
It's kind of interesting how the weather reflects that of the Pacific Northwest, despite them being on two very opposite ends of the spectrum geographically.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Like, you would think that the Atlantic Northeast would be comparable, but it's not.
You would, yeah. Like that's always confused me how like the Northeast is all like hurricanes and like apocalyptic shit happening.
There's just a ton of snow. It's so much closer to Canadian weather than anything else.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, you know, for me, like heavy snow like that is like way beyond what I would expect. But yeah, the few days that I've spent in the Northeast, it was like I was there during summer, and summer there was absolutely nothing like summer in the UK or summer anywhere in Europe. You know, it was way warmer. So it's like you get both extremes there, it seems.
Yeah, I guess it's probably a little bit further north too.
Probably, yeah. All right, a couple of comments. So Term Limited says coaching. I don't know if that's an inquiry about like, am I offering coaching? Yeah, you guys can reach out through the Software Slack or on Twitter, or I guess there's probably a few different places, but Twitter and Slack are probably the best places to reach me right now. I do have some slots. I'm pretty busy, but I do have some slots. Where are we? How is streaming going? Says Dom. Streaming's going pretty well. Yeah, audience is still small, but I'm building a nice little community. Well, that's the goal anyway. What else do we have? Sugar Dubby says, I'll swap you rainy Lancashire for sunny Vegas any day. Only during the winter, my friend. Vegas winter, I love. Winter in Vegas is great for me.
It's the worst.
It is not the worst. It is sunny every day, and it is between 50 and 70 degrees. That is great. I don't know how anybody doesn't like that.
I don't know when you've seen between 50 and 70. We're having a heat spell at the moment. It's usually between like 40 and 55. It's
40
cold.
and 55?
Yeah.
I don't know what temperatures are in Fahrenheit, but whatever. Like,
it's cold,
not
it's
that
windy,
cold.
the days are short, it's miserable.
The short days, yeah, I can get behind not liking that much, but like honestly, I wake up in the morning, it's sunny outside, I can go outside without sweating like the heat or anything like that. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do I watch The Crown? I have never seen The Crown, but I can almost guarantee you it's probably not realistic. I have no interest in stuff that's related to the royal family. I have openings, I say. Yes. Jason, I can't remember if I'm like, have I like forgotten to message you back? I probably should just message you back on Slack. I'll get in touch on Slack soon, Jason, because we've been talking about it. What else do we have? What is the percentage of people in masks on the street? I don't know, because I don't live in the UK. I have no idea. I don't know who wears masks over there. If I can roast a limey a little, limey. I don't even know what that word means. Like, I know that Americans use that word to describe Brits, but honestly, speaking as a Brit, none of us know what that word means. So when you call us that, we don't know what it's implying. So,
I've never heard that word before.
Really? You never heard limey before? Interesting.
I've heard blimey with a B.
Yeah, but that's different. That's not a thing you call a British person.
Right.
Okay, so rain is on the way. Oh, you look like you came from where there's no sun to the... That looks like an incomplete sentence, Richard.
He's just calling you really white.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really white. What do you want? You know, what do you want from me? Matt, what would you say is the biggest mental health related leak that poker players suffer from? Interesting. I would say making poker too big a part of your life, not having enough balance between poker and other things, and attaching too much significance to poker results, basically. That's probably what I would say. Arsenal beat Newcastle last night 3-0, I heard. Yeah, good result for Arsenal. I'm waiting to hear how you want my money. Oh, sorry, dude. Man, I'm so chaotic lately. I need to get back in touch with you. Who benefits from playing super deep, Daniel or Doug? I guess that's just a general question, but it's probably Doug, right?
Doug's win rate goes up, but I think Daniel benefits from volatility.
Mm-hmm.
Way more than he does at 100 blinds.
Yeah, probably.
He's
agree.
turning some of that volatility onto my man Polk right now. Doug overbets the turn on Jack 9, 3, 2 diamonds, turn 7 of spades. Daniel goes for a pot size raise. Doug continues through a call. Actually, it may have been a little less than a pot size raise. Big pot on table 1 as well. I'll keep an eye on it as best I can. I expect Daniel to be all in. Oh my God, how does he find a check? Oh, because he just has the nothing.
Ace high.
The old nothing. That's a weird spot to check raise.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What? About what?
He check raises an overbet on the turn with ace of diamonds in hand. Feels bad, man. Feels real bad. But yeah, he blocks 10-8.
I don't remember what the board was specifically. I just remember he had an 8.
It was Jack 9, 3, 2 diamonds, turn 7.
Uh-huh.
And Doug went bet over bet.
Yeah, that's a weird line.
I think we have better 8s, right? Like, choose ace 8 of diamonds if you're going to do that.
Queen 8, maybe?
Yeah. Choose a hand that's drawing to the nuts for sure. Yeah, queen 8 with the queen of diamonds is way less egregious than ace 8, ace of diamonds. What are you targeting? It seems like you want him to have the ace of diamonds in range, no?
Yeah, it's a strange one. Hish is in the chat. Welcome, Hish.
What up, Hish?
Good
He
to see
just
you,
moved
buddy.
to Vegas.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he's here now.
Wow.
Living his best life.
Yeah, I hope so.
Keeps asking me
What else
about
have we got?
pickleball and then doesn't come. You know, no big deal.
Delio 300 says, question for both. You ever been to Panama? I have not been to Panama. Have you been to Panama?
No, I'm not going to the jungle, man. Do I look like I'm fit for the fucking jungle? I don't want anything to do with it. Any place where they wield machetes on the regular, I'm out. That's
a bunch of people have told me about the origin of the word limey now.
Yeah, I saw.
So I did not know that. I did not know where that was coming from. But you can rest assured that any British person that you call a limey in some kind of like joke insult way kind of way, we don't really get it. So like you don't need to use it.
So they
really.
did this because
come up with something else.
They did this because scurvy's born out of a lack of vitamin C. I'm guessing.
Or it's I think it's I don't know what exactly it's born.
I think it's
out of
vitamin C deficiency.
Yeah, maybe it is.
I could be wrong, but
or I don't know if it's just like the acid in the limes kills some kind of germs or something. I don't know, but I'm English. I thought everyone knew this. Maybe I'm just I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the ordinary and I don't know this.
Scurvy is a disease caused by a deficiency of vitamin C.
There we go.
There we go. That's why they're eating limes.
Yep, apparently so.
How the fuck they get limes on a boat?
I don't know.
Stop in the tropics?
Probably.
Yeah.
Ask them.
Hit up California?
Probably not. But back in those days, I would imagine California was very, very much a Mexican, territory.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. I don't think it was the Brits who arrived in California. They would have had to take a pretty roundabout route to get to California. I'm telling you.
Oh, they could have made it to Florida though.
Yeah, Florida. Yeah, Florida's one thing. It's
a lot
the
of citrus there. Nice hand by Daniel. True. Tough board for Kings. Good for him.
They grew lime trees on the deck. How do you guys know so much about English sailors? How do you guys know all this? I didn't even learn all this. Maybe I did learn this in school and I just forgot it.
This looks like it was a check raise. Could have been 3-bet C-bet.
Yeah, it looks like it probably was.
Yeah, 3-bet C-bet, so probably like 8K in the middle. C-bet for
complete brick. Daniel might shove here.
Should be all in a fair amount. Doug misses a ton of draws here.
Yeah, every draw missed.
It just sucks because I think Daniel has probably like some queen 10 of diamonds, queen 10 of clubs on the turn.
Yeah.
Himself. And he just has to shut those down.
Mm-hmm.
The diamond candidates you could maybe rip through with. I don't know. He could definitely shove like queen 10 of spades, queen 10 of hearts. Those are probably his best bluffs to draw from. 10-8 of spades, 10-8 of hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Choose those 4 combos. Rip your jack X. Rip your 9s, probably.
Damn, just check folds. Wow.
This happens a lot. But I mean, like, he probably just arrives at river with 0.
Yeah. Man, the deuce is such a brick. I don't know how you don't just shove through.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the challenge, is that the strategy is going to have him betting some hands on the turn that just can never bluff shove river.
Mm-hmm.
Which feels pretty fucking bad because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the fold propensity is. Like, it's difficult to estimate fold equity whenever you have a hand like queen 10 of clubs or queen 10 of diamonds, right? It's just really tough to know. Because Doug's not making any errors. Like, if a 7's supposed to bluff catch turn, it will.
Yeah.
And if it's supposed to then turn itself into a bluff on the river, he just will. And that's just challenging as fuck from Daniel's shoes because, you have to have some other, like, quote-unquote value in there. Like, you might protection bet 10s or 9s. On the turn as well, and then if he's just not following through with a bluff catch on river, say he has like 10 of spades, 10 of hearts, and like doesn't bluff catch that hand, which I'm assuming probably bluff catches greater than 0%, but maybe even like a pretty fair frequency. He's just getting wrecked. I'm speculating though, like I don't know that he's
getting speculatively wrecked.
Yeah, right.
He's potentially getting wrecked.
Right, like I'm not by any stretch of the imagination insinuating that he just check folded 10s there, but it's just like,
No.
if that's occurring at all, Doug's probably winning that battle a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Bro, he had 135,000 on the purple table.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It's 100K downswing.
Doug is about to be there with $250,000. Well, he basically did at the beginning of his hand. Have a $250,000 right there. That's nuts.
And it's all pretty much paid for.
Yeah.
It's 350,000 between the two tables, and he's up about 50K.
Yeah, it's wild.
This is the
Been an
most it's
interesting
been.
day.
This is definitely the most it's been in play. 500,000 between the two of them, by far the most.
Yeah, that's crazy. Although, having said that, I am going to have to hop off very shortly.
All right.
So,
yeah, whenever you need to go, just feel free
it's
to
gonna be a
say your
wrap for me.
farewells. All right.
I will say my goodbyes. I have a coaching session to go do at 6 o'clock. So,
Okay.
gonna hop off, gonna get myself something to drink, something to eat, get prepared for it. I'm gonna drop Jason a message too, because I feel bad about leaving him hanging. And I'll see you guys again hopefully sometime soon, because this is always fun. So I hope I can come back, and fingers crossed the challenge will stay interesting. And yeah, good to see everybody in chat. Good to see you, Hish, and everybody. So take care, guys, and I'm gonna hop off.
Thanks, hon.
See you, bud.
See you.
Bye.
All right, squad. That was the one and only Matt Hunt. Wow, huge pot here. Does not go Daniel's way. Misses with 2 overs and a flush draw. $85,000 pot. So 200 big blinds there. I don't think we had the replay. Andre was changing it to a single shot, so probably missed it. Brutal fucking hand for Daniel to lose there versus the old Queen Niner. That's going to put him down 95,000 on the session. Things are really swinging. Oh, wow. Snap sits out. That might be a wrap. Hunt may have just exited right on the last hand played for today's challenge. We'll see. I have a sneaky suspicion that now that they're no longer deep on the purple table and Daniel's not having things fall favorably for him, he might just call it. We do see the ... in the chat. That is going to be an end after this hand. Single raise pot. Check, bet, call on flop. About half pot. Turn is the deuce of clubs. Check, check. Daniel will still have some ace-x in range for sure. Doug will have some flushes. I imagine he's just going to check call with most of them. Queen high is going to be good. Not getting him off that hand for sure. That's very likely to be a wrap for this session. There goes Daniel. He is fucking over it. And I don't blame him one bit. Well, that was fun. I gotta say that much. That was an entertaining session, to say the least. Doug Polk victorious today on a really massive back and forth session. Swingy as all hell. I think we saw Daniel peak. I think he was up about 80K at his peak. Doug ultimately quits at peak profit, which we don't have the luxury of doing in this game very often. So kudos to him. Big swingy day. $500,000 on the table between the two players. I think that's the first time we've seen that. Maybe all challenge, or at least since session 5 or so. Really appreciate everybody tuning in today. Big thank you to Matt Hunt for filling in for Christian. And big thank you to Polk and Dnegs for coming out swinging. Lot of action today. This will be a fun session to see the review breakdown. If you haven't had a chance, definitely check those out. Daniel puts one out after every session. They're very entertaining. Also, if you haven't already, check out our channel. The other videos we've been putting out. It's been a content machine lately. We just released a vlog that we had done from Palm Social in Texas. Really fun little, demonstration of what Texas poker looks like. And we've also got the vlogcast that was out last week, where we kind of posed that poker pundits should maybe be a little bit more responsible with their audience when doing takedown pieces. Put a highlight out today. If you're into solver work, we dug through a hand that the poker guys analyzed from me playing in 2010 World Series. So check all of that out. Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't. Let us know what you would like to see us do differently. Let us know if you're a fan of Jacqueline's Beef Jerky or Chalk Zero or LaCroix or whatever else is getting into this fucking one shot that wasn't in the two shot that I was previously in. That's going to wrap it for us today. I'm back again on Wednesday with Christian Soto. Good chance I leave early to do a live stream after the fact. It's going to be a 2K high roller event. I'm also going to be streaming the 1K re-entry ring series event tomorrow. I think that'll probably go live at 6 p.m. Pacific. So if you're around and you want to tune in, see me play a little high stakes poker, by all means, please do so. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I will see you tomorrow.